ladies and gentlemen, in case you were wondering why we're doing this, it's just the professionality of this stream, of this podcast. We're not professional at all.
We're cooked.
As you can see, we just did an intro. It was perfect, by the way. Perfect. And then we find out that my voice is not recording on Rurikon's side.
No,
which would make editing
it was the other way around.
Harder.
My voice was not recording on my side.
Oh,
that's the beauty. Yeah.
Okay, that would make it impossible to edit the video.
It's fantastic, dude.
Yeah.
Oh,
so it's like everything goes well and then it just doesn't go well.
It's
so
my fault.
Rurikon, how are you, sir?
I am in pain. My right arm's destroyed. I don't know why. Yeah, it's just destroyed. It's wrecked. It hurts everywhere. My back still hurts from falling from the hoverboard as well. So I'm an old man. I'm a fucking old man. That's what happens when you're an old man. You're just in permanent pain the whole time.
I would just like to point out, you are an old man.
Yes.
Getting on a hoverboard. You should have known not to do that from the beginning. It's like, dude, you always see these videos, right?
I can do what I want.
All of the America's Funniest Home Videos is some middle-aged dad trying to get on a skateboard or getting on one of those little things that you stand on and go forward and backwards. And it always ends with that guy breaking his coccyx or just falling his shit off.
You can't stop me. I can do what I want. I do everything. Okay?
You can, but then you're going to be in pain every single time.
It's like, listen,
that's just how it is.
People talk about, oh, you have to live healthy, do this, got to be careful. So what? So that I'll look pretty in a casket when I'm gone? Bro, when people look at my dead corpse inside a coffin, they're going to say, holy shit, look at this fucking guy. What the fuck did he do? He's all fucked
They're
up.
Gonna be like, this man lived.
Like, that's one hell of a ride, baby. Let's go.
But okay, there is something we forgot last week that we should have done. We didn't.
It's
we
your
didn't
fault.
do the poll. It is my fault.
Yeah.
I should have remembered the poll. But we're going to be doing both polls today. And the reason I'm actually doing last week or the week before last week's poll is because of a very interesting comment that we got on the poll. So first, the poll was, will you pay $80 for a game? 5% said yes. 42% said no. 51% said it depends, which I think is sort of where a lot of people lie. And then 2% said show the results. 344 of you voted in that. Thank you so much for the vote. But the comment I want to highlight of this is from Elder Gamer X that said, depends on the game, but it would be a 1 every year or 2 situation. Generally, a game being priced at $80 means I'll just get it a year later on sale. And the reason I'm highlighting that is because I think that's the thing that the gaming industry doesn't seem to realize. At $80, gamers are no longer going to shell out for every AAA, right? Even if the game's really good, most gamers don't have $80 to spend 5 or 6 times a year.
True.
So it's going to become this thing of, even if your game is really good, if I know that Monster Hunter is launching in February, right? And you have your game launch in December, I might just go, I want to play Monster Hunter instead. So I'm not going to buy this game now. I'll wait for this one to go on sale. I'll instead pick up the Monster Hunter. At 60, you could maybe still swing it, right?
Not only that, but I think one of the things that the gaming industry is going to have like a very harsh awakening to as well is as you start pricing more and more people out of this hobby, guess what's going to happen? People are going to be like, hey, man, bro, I have this boat. It's got like a black flag on it, and I'm going to go sail them high seas. Like, listen, people are going to play video games one way or another. So you either price them. It's like the age-old saying that Gaben said, which was the whole thing about piracy is a service level problem. People don't see the value. And therefore, boom, you start going back down that road. Guess what's going to happen? It's right there. VPNs are readily available because we know that the government nowadays monitors all types of shit to make sure that people aren't pirating and whatnot. But it's like, get yourself a VPN, boom, done. And it's going to happen. Like sooner or later, you're going to see a massive rise in piracy if companies continue to be this out of touch. So, yeah.
Dude, the funny thing is, Steam already proved it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We have the studies that's been done by Steam themselves. They commissioned these studies that showed, because you had a lot of game companies, because for those of you that don't know, regional pricing is studio dependent, or rather publisher dependent. Publishers have to give Steam the right to implement what is called regional pricing. Regional pricing exists because if you charge $80 for a game in America, maybe that's fine for American audiences and they can kind of swing it. You charge that exact same amount in, say, South Africa. That's the average sort of wage for a lot of people in a month, right? Or like more than a third of a salary in a month. So no one can pay 80 in South Africa. So regional pricing exists to sort of go, okay, what can we get out of South Africans? Because that's the only thing that they'll pay, ultimately, right? You see it sort of, Square Enix famously doesn't do regional pricing in South Africa. When they release a game, it's 1,400 to 1,500 rand in South Africa as well. They refuse to do regional pricing. I know, and this is anecdotal, but I know personally that a lot of people sail the high seas for Square Enix games in South Africa because they physically can't pay.
Like I said, look, people are going to play video games one way or another. This is
and
happening.
the high seas do exist, right? And so if you do this, and by the way, the study just showed wherever regional pricing was implemented, piracy nosedived. Because most people will buy games.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's easier. Right? It's so much easier to buy
more
a game.
Convenient. It's just like you can just buy it and you have it and it's done. The problem is when you make it
automatically.
Yeah, when you make it impossibly expensive for people to buy video games, people are gonna go, well, guess I have to put in a little bit more effort and just go get it elsewhere.
Yeah. I'll just sail the high seas, and it's gonna be glorious because they're gonna give themselves a bloody nose.
Yep.
But onto the next poll question that we had, and this one was, are you playing Nightreign? I realize not as sort of juicy as the last one, but still 345 of you voted on this, so thank you so much for that. 19% of you said yes, 54% of you said no, 23% of you said not yet, and only 3% said show results.
I'm disappointed.
The thing that I find interesting about the comments is, for a lot of people, it does appear like it's just not what they expected from Software.
Yep.
And it seems like that's sort of the thing where they're going, nah, not really my style, not really the kind of thing that I want. And I feel like it's weird because one of our topics is actually talking about Elden Ring. Do you actually just want to talk about the Elden Ring Nightreign situation?
We can jump into the Nightreign situation right away. It's been a very divisive title that From Software put out. And it's been very interesting to see that a large percentage of the community, well, maybe not a large percentage, but like a significant amount of people have taken the attitude of, this is not what I was expecting, therefore it is irredeemable slop. So the situation that I've been following throughout this week is the equivalent of, like, you know how you like to play all those city builders and stuff like that I don't play because it's not my kind of game. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell you all of those games are irredeemable slop because it's not my kind of game. There you go.
Yeah.
That's the analysis.
Makes sense, actually. That's a very, very balanced take.
I know, right? But that's something that I've been hearing nonstop this week. So I want to make one thing clear. The game's not perfect. As pretty much every fucking game in modern times, it's got some performance issues, which I didn't really experience, but I know that some people have been experiencing performance issues. So it's got that, but on top of it, it is not a traditional single-player From Software experience, which is what most people really wanted. Not only that, but it is firmly designed for 3 players. And therefore, the solo experience is not the best. Now, before the game even came out, people that were in the review program, a lot of people were able to do not a lot. Some people were able to do solo runs. So it is possible to do solo runs, but it is very, very hard. Now they've made that easier, but I'm like, I don't even think you needed to make it easier. It's a 3-player game. It's designed to be a 3-player game. Just own it. Just be like, yeah, look, it's fucking 3 players. Fucking deal with it. It's like, I'm sorry, bro. It is what it is. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's the issue. The issue is that they allowed for a single-player experience. You see, and what they should have done is just double down and be like, oi,
it's for
this
multiplayer.
Is a 3-player experience.
It's for fucking multiplayer.
Yeah, if you want to sign up solo, you're going to get teamed with 2 other people. It's as simple as that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I saw somewhere someone say the ping system either doesn't exist or is really bad or
there is
something.
A ping system.
I'm not sure.
People want more communication. That one's valid criticism because as per usual, I think that people might be concerned, oh, if we put in voice chat, then someone goes into the game and says like some racist slur, that's going to be a big problem. And it is. It is a big problem because you know that mainstream media websites are going to instantly come in and it's like, look at the ableist language that From Software allows people to have. And it's like, bro, it's voice comms. You're going to police what people are saying online, what everybody is saying online? How can you even do that? It's fucking voice comms. Like, implement an AI system that detects whenever somebody drops a slur. It's like, bro, it's not going to happen. Okay.
Well,
every time
we spoke about this last week.
Every time there's voice comms, somebody's going to drop some racist bullshit. It's just going to happen. Like,
of course.
It's fucking stupid.
But hey, Sony is coming up with their gamer social score, so Sony will take care of that. We discussed this last week. So
it's like
that is coming.
It's like there isn't a voice comm system which would make things significantly easier, but there is a ping system. So like I can ping in the map like, hey guys, we should go this way. And if people follow the instructions, you can get like really cool team coordination just by pinging the map. Like I've done random runs. I've done a bunch of random runs and it's fine most of the time. Now, occasionally you get a couple of people that don't follow the pings. Yes, this happens with every video game. It's not a majority of the experience.
Have you ever played League of Legends?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I feel
you oftentimes get people that don't follow the pings.
So it's like
I have literally had this where I see one of my teammates running into the banana brush. League of Legends players will know what I'm talking about. I know for a fact there's 2 enemy players in that brush. I'm pinging this guy with giant exclamation marks in red, being like, danger, danger, danger. And this guy just goes, la, 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 la.
It's fine.
Dies. And I'm like, well,
it's not a problem.
What am I doing?
But yeah, so it's like, this happens, yes. And like I said, it should have voice comms. Absolutely. Proximity chat, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It should definitely have that. It would be very useful. But, you can still sync up with people on Discord. And if you don't want to, the game is still very much playable with just the in-game ping system. Could it be better? Yes. Is it the end of the world? No. So it's like better communication would be cool. But ultimately, like I said, this is meant to be a 3-player experience. And I've already played it. I've finished the solo run the day that they've made it easier to do solo runs. Basically, they gave people free resurrections and additional EXP if you're playing solo, which I've even stated, I'm not sure that's the right move because nothing compares to playing this game in 3 players. Like, and they've even said they're adding duos as well. And I'm like, when I first reviewed it,
that's making it worse.
When I first reviewed it, I was like, yes, duos, obvious, should have been in. Now that I've played more and more of it, I'm like, actually, I'm not so sure because 3 players just feels right. Like it clearly was made for 3 players and the experience is quite simply made better by having 3 players. That's just the way that I look at it. And I'm not imposing my will upon people. I just think that if you are coming off of Elden Ring and you're expecting Elden Ring 2, this ain't it. And they've specifically stated since the beginning, this ain't it. This is a different thing. This is a spin-off, completely different game. But people are mad. A lot of the stuff in this game is also reused from other games, but people are saying that it's just, they just grab the boss, put it in there, called it a day. It's like, no, these bosses have completely different movesets. They have completely new attacks that they do in order to be able to compensate for the fact that there's 3 players there. And this is one of the things that I've always wanted, because what happens in a lot of From Software games is that even though you can co-op in those games, it effectively reduces the difficulty because a lot of the bosses have a tough time keeping track of 2 players, let alone 3, which you can co-op with 3 players in a lot of these games as well. So the bosses struggle because the boss fights are kind of like designed for a one-on-one. And when you put another player in there, basically I can go into the boss, smack him a couple of times, grab aggro, and then you can go from behind and just like wail on the boss nonstop. Then the boss turns to you and we just like ping pong back and forth, and the bosses have a really tough time handling it. And in this game, it's a little bit different. There's like, you start trying to do this ping pong bullshit, the boss is going to slap you across the face, murder you in cold blood, okay? A lot of these bosses will turn on a dime and murder you. And it's like, yes, this is what you need, because then the other players can go in there and kind of like resurrect and try to save the day. And you get this really, what I personally find really cool experience, where you're kind of like back and forth with other players trying to figure out, oh, how are we going to tackle this particular situation? Like, I had a situation in the final boss where my team died. And the way that it happens is whenever somebody dies, they get 1 purple pip. They die again, they get 2 purple pips, so it's harder to res them. They die again, they get 3. And at that point, it becomes really hard to res them, particularly if the boss is on top of you. Now, ultimate abilities and stuff like that can kind of make up for this. So we're at the final boss. One of my teammates dies, got 2 pips. The other one dies, has 3 pips. And I'm sitting there by myself, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to lock in. Going to grab my big shield. I'm going to tank this boss until I fill up my ultimate meter. So I'm just sitting there, bang, 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 bang. Eventually my ultimate meter fills, and I resurrect both of them at the same time with my character's ultimate. Heal them to full because of a relic that I have on my ultimate's character, and we beat the boss. And these are the moments that this game is made for. When, you know, you're able to clutch it up and you just like fucking pull the save and you pull it together. And it's fantastic. And that's the thing. The problem is a lot of people, they're going like, it's not Elden Ring and it's not solo player friendly, therefore I hate it. And it's like, they never said it was. They never said it was. And it's unreasonable to just like go on this fucking hate rampage when I think that the game is actually a ton of fun. And it's not just, they are reusing the assets, but they're also adding a lot of move sets on these bosses that makes them more capable to face off against 3 players. And this is, by the way, I've put in at this point like somewhere north of 90 hours into the game, and it's still fun for me. It's still a ton of fun. And I have a bunch of people saying, oh, it's 10 hours and I'm done with it and I've done all the content. It's like, bullshit. 10 hours, you haven't seen like 1/5 of what the game has to offer. Get the fuck out of here. So it's been very frustrating to deal with that. And, you know, there's going to be DLC for the game and all of that stuff. Do I want more things? Do I think there's improvements? Absolutely. It needs more randomization. The randomization should be better. It needs crossplay, which is ridiculous that they launched the game without crossplay, because people act like I didn't criticize the game. And I'm like, no, I have plenty of criticisms for the game. It's got problems, got a lot of problems. But the experience that is there at $40 is more than worth the asking price, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I think, so my personal opinion on this is this is the perfect time for Miyazaki to step in and maybe put his foot down. Because if you compare Elden Ring to Elden Ring Nightreign, there's a similar concept that happens here, right? In Elden Ring, and in every Dark Souls game that Miyazaki has ever made, he's been adamant that there will not be difficulty sliders. They will not add abilities for you to go easy mode or whatever, right? And the reason for that, I think you can sort of link in with the interview we covered last week with the Clair Obscur developers, where they spoke about deciding what the scope of your game is going to be. And then a successful game chooses the most narrow scope possible to pull off the game, and you refuse to paint outside the lines. I think the biggest mistake they made here was to go, okay, we're gonna add solo and duo play because we don't want people to be forced to play 3. And it's like, hold up. That is, in my opinion, sacrificing the scope of your game, because clearly you want the game to be 3 players, right? Now you're sacrificing the scope. Now the problem is, if I expect to be playing as solo, I expect to have the perfect experience as solo. You can't say, well, your experience is going to be bad because it's actually meant for 3-player. Then don't let me play solo.
Agreed. And that in my opinion is a mistake that they've made. And here's the thing.
Yeah.
I do think that a solo mode should eventually be implemented as well as a duo mode, but it shouldn't have been on launch. I think that is what you would do when the game drops, like, say, below 5,000 concurrent players, something like that, and it's kind of getting hard for people to get matches done. Then you're like, okay, guys, look, the game, because this is not planned as like a forever game. At least I don't think so, as far as I'm concerned. Their scope is limited. They're like, listen, this is a $40 one-time purchase, and Bob's your uncle, experience it, have fun, and then you're done. And so it's like, I think that eventually the player base will start dwindling significantly. And when that happens, that's when you go in and you're like, okay, listen, it's kind of getting rough out there to get a match. Therefore,
single player.
Here you go. Here's a single player mode. This now works in single player. You can go have fun. Here's a duos mode if you just have like one friend that you can hang out with and whatnot. And boom, because what's happening right now is you're fracturing a player base that is already fractured on account of the fact that you didn't introduce crossplay, which was one of the biggest mistakes of them not launching this with crossplay. Because
it should be mentioned though, guys, that it still sits at mostly positive. 77% of people still think it's a really good, solid game. That doesn't mean it doesn't have mistakes, and mistakes were not made. I sort of believe that this exact same thing that they did is one of the reasons World of Warcraft is tanking. Because WoW is also trying this whole, what if you could play solo?
Yeah.
Right? And they're trying to design the game around this, oh, we need to keep the solo players happy. But the problem is that keeping the solo players happy will automatically exclude the multiplayer players. And keeping the multiplayer players happy will automatically exclude. So you have competing interests within the game and how you want to design the game. Which means that either you design 2 parallel games that they're completely parallel from one another, or you have to drop one of the 2.
Yeah.
You have to, if you're going to make successful decisions. World of Warcraft has ridden this all the way down, and it has, in my opinion, irreparably harmed the game. Luckily, Nightreign isn't an MMO, so they don't have to worry about that. But I would suggest just turn the ship around, brother. Leave the solo, leave the duo. Work on it, maybe.
It's already been confirmed. They've already said, we're gonna add a duos mode and all of this, which
it's gonna make it worse.
It might be fine. Who knows what is going to happen? But my interpretation after having played 90 hours of the game is they should quadruple down on 3s being the way to play this game, because it just feels better playing that way. It's just...
I think duo's going to make it worse.
And I think the only way to make duos work is if it's only with pre-mades. So it's like only if you're queuing up you and a friend and you get to do just exclusively duos, and you aren't like getting people to queue for duos, because you don't want to take people away from the 3s. The 3s experience. At least that's my opinion. One of the things that I will say, because I've specifically mentioned this on X, that I was like, I wish they would make more games like this. And I think a lot of people don't understand, because they just come back with like, oh yes, multiplayer slop, just winning. It's like, no. Listen, if I want to, let's say you and we want to play Elden Ring right now. What's going to happen? I'm going to jump into your game with my fucking roided out character, and it's like, what are you going to do? You're going to sit in the cuck chair while I just completely ravage the boss to pieces with like a super giga roided out character. Or we're both going to have to start characters from scratch, and we can't play while we're not playing with each other.
Yeah.
And it just becomes like all of these things that you have to like consider, right? Then on top of it, there's the limitations that already exist in terms of cooperation in Elden Ring and other Souls games, where it's like, oh, we can summon each other here, but we can't summon each other here. And once we summon each other here and we kill this boss, then it's over, and you have to go summon me somewhere else, or then I have to summon you into my world. And there's a mod that kind of like goes around some of those things, the seamless mod, but it doesn't solve the problem of like me coming in with a gigaroided out character, or if I happen to have played 10 more hours than you did, we're never really going to be on the same footing. So it's either going to be me being super powerful and wailing on everything while you're watching, and you're not going to feel good about that either, because like, well, fuck, I want to contribute, right? And Nightreign gives you that, because yes, there are relics and you gain like little bits of power that make you a little bit, stronger, but you really need everybody to pull through. You're not going to like hard carry something unless you're one of the best players in the world. That's just the way that it's going to go. So like your average players, they're not going to be hard carrying. So everybody's going to be contributing. And it doesn't matter that I have 90 hours already in the game. We could play it right now and your contribution is still going to be very meaningful, and you still have to kind of like follow through and come with me to the camps, because I'm not going to be able to kill them solo because the mobs are going to be tuned for 3 players. So it's just... I love that experience. It's almost like a self-contained dungeon run in World of Warcraft, except nobody is more powerful or has better gear at the beginning. It's just whatever you happen to find that run, and you kind of like have to make it work.
Yeah.
And I think that experience is really fun, but a lot of people apparently don't, because they just want to play solo. And it's like, it's a multiplayer game, bro. It's a multiplayer. I don't know what to tell you.
I think the saving grace of this game is the fact that it's not called Elden Ring 2.
Yeah, it should.
And I think that's why it's mostly positive on Steam, because most people can at least... this is what I made the argument for with Dragon Age the Veilguard, right? It should never have been marketed as a Dragon Age successor.
Yeah.
They should have called it the Veilguard, a Dragon Age story, or something to that effect, right? Something that made it super clear this is not a successor to the Dragon Age games, because it wasn't a successor to the Dragon Age games. And I think this is something that Elden Ring, Nightreign, at least did correctly. From the very beginning, they were very clear. This is not Elden Ring 2. This is not a follow-up of Elden Ring, right? This is its own game, just set in the Elden Ring universe, sort of, right? We're just using the world for Elden Ring because we already have this incredible world, and may as well, which I think is why it's mostly positive. But I do think there's a number of things that you post or that you just touched on that is super important. You have solo, now you're gonna have duo, which means you've taken what would already be the way that you designed the game, premier way to play, 3-player, and you're just fracturing it even more, right? You're creating more and more fracture points to where eventually you might get to a place where there isn't enough people to do 3s, because most people are going 2 or solo, because you're continuously going to be forced. I guarantee you, the second you do duo, the screams for better solo experience will not end. Players will continue to scream for a better solo experience. Players will continue to scream for a better duo experience. And like, eventually...
And it's like the whole solo thing. The game is designed for you to be resurrected by other players. Like, that's literally the intended experience, that you are fighting and somebody is going to die. Like, the way that some of these bosses hit, like, you're meant to die. And somebody is meant to go in there and res you and help you out. That's the point. But people still see dying in these games as like failure. And it's like, no, it's
I told you.
Learning experience.
I told you. I hated Elden Ring until I realized dying is a mechanic.
Yeah.
It's not a mistake. It's a mechanic, which is so counterintuitive to how games actually operate, right? Because in all other games, dying is a mistake.
Yeah, it's like, you fucked up. You made a mistake. Oops, too bad.
Yeah. And it's helped me tremendously with something like Clair Obscur Expedition 33, because in that game, dying is also a mechanic.
Oh, absolutely.
You're going to die a lot as you try and figure out the parrying system, as you try and figure out the dodge. When can you dodge? When should you parry? Because you can technically parry everything in the game, but there are certain attacks that is just so hard to parry that dodge is almost always the better option. Right? And you have to learn that.
No.
You have to figure that out.
No, that's a lie. You parry everything. That's the only way.
There's one guy specifically, I just killed him yesterday again. It's in a flying... Is it Flying Waters? I think it's Flying Waters. You know, as you run in the Flying Waters and you get to...
I don't know
the sort
any
of
of this.
old Lumiere buildings. Sorry?
I don't know any of this.
You've played it, right?
I haven't played that much of it, dude.
Oh, this is like the second dungeon. It's like the second dungeon. You go through the flying waters. Right after you finish the first dungeon, you're sent into this place, right?
Okay.
It's sort of on the opposite end of the map. And there's this one area you run into where you have all these old buildings and monsters standing around these old sort of destroyed buildings. And there's a special boss in this area. He has this trumpet that he blows. And he hits you with the trumpet as he blows it. One of the trumpet attacks you can fully parry, no problem. The other one that he does is a lot trickier because he has these two little kicks that he do at the end, which is almost impossible to bloody parry.
But not
because it comes too quickly.
But not impossible.
Impossible enough that I didn't even try. I was like, no, I'll just dodge all this shit.
You parry everything.
Keep dying on this crap.
Parry or die. We don't dodge in here. We die like real men.
I think just to put a final bow on this, or like a final point on it, they're going to optimize solo and duo to the point where it will become the way most people play. And it will destroy the point and purpose of the game. That's why it should never have been
people don't like friction. People a lot of people nowadays, they don't like friction. It's like, bro, friction is what makes games. Like if there's no friction, there's no game.
Yeah, what's the point of playing if there's no friction?
Exactly. Somebody's going to win.
It's kind of sad.
Somebody's going to lose. That's the way it goes. Not everybody's a winner.
Yeah. I mean, talking about not everyone being a winner.
What a nice segue. Gotcha.
That is a beautiful segue, actually. We have to talk about the biggest loser in the last week or so, which is Twitch.
Oh, yes.
Twitch is getting their shit kicked in at this very moment. And it comes as a result of a lot of people, I think, being legitimately fed up with Twitch.
Oh, yes.
A lot of people have reached the point where they're just like, man, I can't stand Twitch anymore. Their hypocrisy, the fact that, Hassan can get away with being like an actual terrorist sympathizer and maybe get like a day ban on a Sunday, which is his off-stream day, FYI. He doesn't stream on Sundays. But then Takedown calls some girl fat, who is fat, by the way. He gets a week ban. Then Takedown has just been banned again because two OnlyFans girls called him a grapist, and he retorted to their calling him a grapist by calling them whores. And Twitch just banned him for 2 weeks for calling to actual prostitutes because that's sex work.
Here's the
right? It's like okay.
Yeah. Here's the thing about Twitch. I take no pleasure in seeing Twitch's downfall because there's a lot of really cool people on Twitch. There are. True. There's a lot of people that love streaming. They're doing it for the passion. There's a lot of people.
I'm on Twitch.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that I have that are on my audience. They usually prefer to watch on Twitch. Like, I get it. But the reality is Twitch as a platform has just failed on such tremendous levels. They failed to enforce their rules. They failed to have like actual potential growth for up and coming people trying to get into the platform. They fail on so many different levels, and it just fucking sucks. It's the best example of mismanagement. They were given the world, and they just fucking floundered it over complete nonsensory and politics. Like, bro, it's a fucking video gaming website, bro. Just fucking stream the video games. Shut the fuck up. The talent is there.
Yeah.
But this is like, but yeah, it's just terrible.
So to give people a little bit of insight here, because we're not just shitting on Twitch here, a lot of streamers, Asmongold, Takedown, and now even more streamers have finally made the jump to multi-streaming on Kick. Now, Takedown is also multi-streaming on YouTube, Kick, X, and Twitch. Asmongold is doing Twitch, X, and Kick. He doesn't want to do YouTube. But that's mainly because of DMCA reactions. YouTube is very weird with React content, so obviously for Asmon, probably not the best place for him to try and multi-stream. The point is, for, I think, the first time in Kick's existence, and it should be mentioned, Kick has not been doing badly. According to most of the market reports I've seen, Kick has been able, purely on its own, to sort of claw about 26% of Twitch's live stream market away from it, just in the last 2 years. Right, so Kick is doing reasonably well.
It's all that dirty gambling money, bro.
Yeah, but the gambling money allows Twitch to do, or Kick to do something that Twitch can't do. It allows Kick to just let streamers stream without too much ad interference, right? Which Twitch can't do. So yes, the ad money is bad, but the ad money is used to basically make the platform usable and people can just have fun on it. And this move finally, I think, brings Kick out of because for a long time, Kick has been seen as the sort of, if your views are too spicy for Twitch, you go to Kick. Sort of the same place Rumble is in.
Yeah.
Rumble is sort of this place. If you have stuff that you want to say, but YouTube will ban you for it, go say it on Rumble, which is fine. I'm a free speech absolutist, and I believe people should be allowed to say whatever they want. I even think Hassan should be able to say that, terrorist groups are good. I don't mind him saying that. But I don't think that's a good business strategy. Simply being able to say, hey, you want to say racist shit? Come say it on our platform is not a great business strategy, right? It's like, okay, fine. People can say racist stuff. That's great. But what else are you bringing to market that makes me want to watch the content on your platform?
It's like, to me, the biggest thing about multi-streaming is just the chat experience. As a creator, I hate having to handle like two distinct chats. Like I don't know, bro. I think it's being old. I'm old, and I remember I did multi-streaming for a bit during Path of Exile 2 because a lot of people were asking me like, hey, do the Twitch thing for the drops so that I can get the drops from you. And I was like, fine, okay, I'll do it. I'll stream on. And I did both, and the beginning of the stream process is way harder. It's way harder to actually start streaming when I'm doing multi-stream. I don't know if I'm maybe doing something wrong, whatever the fuck, but it was way harder to start the stream. And then on top of it, sometimes the multi-chat app, whatever the fuck, didn't work. So it just wouldn't give me chats. And I was like, what the fuck? Other times it wouldn't work and it wouldn't give me the current concurrent viewers. So it was like flimsy as all shit. So I hated that. And then on top of it, I still have to like double check that everything's going okay on the YouTube end of things, because that's going to be the most important VOD that actually stays there. So I'm having to like manage all of these chat windows on top of the fucking YouTube dashboard. And then I still need to have the Twitch dashboard in the backdrop in case something happens that I don't get a proper notification for. So it's like, fuck. And it's like, and this is multi-streaming the 2 platforms. We're talking about multi-streaming the 4, which I would love to do, by the way. But I think that if I was to do that, what I would do is like, listen, you want to chat? Come to the YouTube chat. Fuck it, I quit, bro. It's like, listen, I'm on all these platforms. You have to come to this chat.
That won't work.
It's not going to work. It's just not going to work. But because like the chat experience for me is fucking miserable having to handle all of those chats. Like I'm no longer a young buck that I can like be looking at chat and doing, and especially because I play challenging games all the time. Like I need to be focusing on what I'm doing. Like I'm not going to be playing Nightreign and having a philosophical conversation with 4 different chats at the same time. It's not happening.
Yeah. So I found that there's a couple of easy workarounds for multi-streaming, because I genuinely do think multi-streaming is the future for one reason and one reason only. It allows viewers to watch where they want.
Where they want. No, I think that's a good thing. Yeah.
Which I think is amazing. Because on my channel, for example, we now live stream to, I did multi-streaming before it was cool, right? Before we were even allowed. Let's just say that. I was multi-streaming already.
You say that, but let me tell you something. When I was working for TGN back in the day, we're talking like fucking 2014, like over 10 years ago.
Yeah, way back. Yeah.
We were streaming to YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter. We were already doing that. So it's like I've done multi-streaming before it was cool.
No, that's perfectly valid. I'm not suggesting that I'm the pioneer of multi-streaming or anything. I'm just saying I did it before it was even cool, and I streamed to X, I streamed to Kick, I streamed to Twitch, I streamed to YouTube, and the thing I found is that I genuinely have a community of about 90, almost 100 people on all of these platforms, and each of them want to be where they are. They prefer to watch where they are. Which I think is invaluable, right?
Yeah, but what are you using? You're using Restream and you're using their multi-chat app and all that bullshit?
Yeah, I use Restream. I use Restream's chat in order to overlay chat. So I always have chat on my screen so that all of the different platforms can see what everyone else is typing. I don't care if Twitch says that's against their TOS. They can suck rocks for all I care. People in chat want to know what everyone else is saying.
They can suck rocks.
Yeah. I don't want to swear. I don't want to use like too much swear words. But yeah, they can suck rocks if they don't like it. Fundamentally, I do that, and then my OBS, I use Stream Elements OBS. So it has the multi-chat function already built in, but I will grant you, it's not perfect. There are times where chat messages just don't come through.
Yeah.
But I've heard that there is an actual app from GitHub that you can download that works perfectly for multi-chatting because it will pick up all the chats from everywhere. But it works decent enough.
Because like, to me, the problem is also it adds a significant amount of, with Restream. The one that I used was Restream's chat app. And that what I've noticed is that it would add a significant amount of latency to each of the chats, which there's already latency on the stream, so you're already answering back slower than people are typing, and then you add additional latency on top of that through the Restream chat app, and I was like, bro, this is just a terrible chatting experience. And sometimes the fucking thing would freeze and not work, and then I was like, is chat just not talking? Is this fucking thing broken? Then I have to go and I have to check what the fuck is happening while I'm trying to play fucking hardcore PoE 2. It's like, bro, like, that's the thing. That's the thing that bothers me. Because like the moment you solve the chat situation, I'm like, bro, I'll stream everywhere you fucking want. I don't care. But like with the current experience with chat, it is miserable for them and miserable for me a majority of the time. And that's the reason, because I do want to multi-stream as well. But
I like multi-streaming because I think each of the platforms is really unique in what they offer and what they bring. And I think that it is going to put Twitch in a significant problem. Because as these other platforms are becoming more and more competitive, you now have Asmongold, we covered this last week, working with Elon Musk to fix X streaming. Although they're probably going to have to find another name for it because, there's already sites with those specific words that isn't quite as, like, not that X is wholesome, but it's not quite as wholesome as X.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what we need. We're gonna get the new OnlyFans, and it has an even better name.
The other day I was literally sitting there and I was like, they could just call it X video, and my chat was like, no, they can't do that. It's like, okay, yeah, sorry, they can't do that. What about X? What did I say? I think I said X post. They're like, ooh, no, that's too. I was like, what about extreme? They're like, no, that's too. I was like, well, I don't know. I don't know what you call it then, right? You just call it stream, but the E and the A is replaced with an X.
He should have never. He should have never renamed it to X. It should have been called Twitter.
No,
like just leave the bird alone.
Like, if you
just leave the bird alone.
If you don't like Twitter, right? Choose any other name.
You can call it Twitter. No, wait.
Twitter. Yeah. I'm a fan of Twitter.
You are.
I'm a fan of Twitter. Let's do that. But yeah, no, fundamentally, I think it's interesting, right? It's not groundbreaking. I don't think Twitch is going anywhere anytime soon, but I do think this is a significant challenge to what Twitch is happening. But I also think Kick is about to get into some serious trouble. See, because right now, Kick is sort of going, copyright? What's that?
Oh, yeah.
That is not going to stay for long
Can't
when
wait
it becomes big enough.
until somebody just like starts streaming friggin' Lord of the Rings. I'm betting that they already have a couple of anime reactors in there. Like, oh yeah, 100%. People just like watching full fucking anime episodes. Oh yes, I bet you that happens. So yeah.
Dude, it's gonna be a nightmare because trust me, guys, there's two industries in this world that you don't want to piss off. The music industry and the movie industry.
Yep.
They'll be on you like white on rice. They'll destroy your platform within seconds. Like, they don't care, right? The music industry almost destroyed YouTube. If you guys don't believe me, you can go actually check the history.
I will say,
YouTube was about a month away from not existing as a result of the music industry.
I will say, though, despite YouTube's copyright shenanigans, which are still pretty much a piece of shit, it's actually gotten way better for streaming events, like stuff like what we're going to be having later today, which is the what's it called, the Summer Game Fest. Because what happens is, you know, they have like those copyrighted tracks because every fucking publisher, for some reason, rather than using the amazing soundtracks that they have, they decide, no, you know what? We should like get some fucking licensed music to put on top of this. That will make so much more sense. But what happens now is after you
now restream this, boys.
Yeah.
Copyright strike, copyright claim. You're like,
usually,
what the?
I haven't.
The whole stream is claimed.
I've never gotten a copyright strike so far, which is, you know, I'm gonna knock on wood because, like, bro,
I've been copyright strike by Blizzard for streaming free BlizzCon.
Interesting. But so what happens is right now you usually get a copyright claim, like even if it's something like, let's say, Aerosmith or like really mainstream music stuff, you usually get like a copyright claim. And then there's like straight up a tool you can go in there and be like, delete the song. They'll just get rid of the song. It's fantastic, and you can remonetize the video. So like usually what happens after a show like the one we're getting today, like Summer Game Fest, Game Awards, that type of shit, it'll be like a month.
What time is Summer Game Fest?
In 12 hours.
Man, I'm going to be asleep already.
Yep. But what usually happens is I will spend like a month every now and then coming back to the dashboard and going like, delete this song, because it only deletes one at a time. But I'll get rid of all the songs, and then by the end of it, it'll be like, okay, video's monetized again. Boom, done. It's over. So it's actually pretty good about that stuff. Now, it is still very much exploitable. Like, there's a ton of fucking copyright trolls. There are a couple of freaking scumbags that straight up copyrighted, not copyrighted, but they're trying to claim that they own Proof of a Hero, which is the main Monster Hunter theme. And I'm like, no, motherfucker, I'm in contact with Capcom. You're going to get fucked if you try to challenge this. Like, fuck off. You're going to get fucked, bro. You're going to get fucking wrecked. Keep trying to exploit this system. You're going to find out real quick. Yeah. So yeah, it's I
find that probably the most annoying of the entire YouTube copyright system
is that it's exploitable as fuck.
Yeah, because YouTube does not require the copyright claimant to prove copyright. Like, they don't have to prove that they own it. They can just claim it, and it's only once you dispute it that then the copyright claimant has to prove that they
they don't have to prove. They can just say no.
I think.
No, they can just say no. They can just say they don't care, and then you have to appeal it, and then you have to get lawyers involved. But yeah, literally what happens is somebody gets a message, and you can just go and say, no, it's mine, and YouTube will like, okay, they said it's theirs. That's weird. That's literally the way that it works. Worse. Yeah, it is worse. It is really, really bad.
That makes it even worse.
Which is why usually I'll dispute, but I'll never appeal. But what happens is, on stuff where I have context, because sometimes I'll have, I'll know the PR people of the games and shit like that. So if somebody's copywriting music from a game, if they're trying to exploit that, I'll just go straight to the source. I'll go to the publisher and be like, hey, listen, this person's doing some shady shit with your stuff. And then I just send them a message and I'll be like, by the way, I've already entered in contact with this publisher, and if you try to challenge this, you're going to get fucked. So just letting you know. So go ahead, do your thing, and then get sued into the fucking ground, okay? Good luck with that.
Yeah.
So that's usually the way that I do it. So that way, I don't usually have that many copyright issues, but yeah, it still happens from time to time.
No, I think one of the reasons they do this, just for those who might care, if you get a copyright claim, all the money that your video would make goes to the
Yeah.
copyright claimant. So obviously, you can imagine if you go and you strike 1,000 videos a day, right? Not strike them, claim them. Even if half of those, because a lot of people won't even dispute. They'll just be like,
Yeah.
oh, damn, okay, never mind. I'll just not claim it back. You can make a lot of money,
Oh, yeah.
right? Just claiming
It's
random
a scale.
videos.
It's a scale operation, basically. So it's like, to give you guys an
Yeah.
idea. Let's say Akalon made a jingle for his videos, like a small little jingle. I literally, as a content creator, I can steal that jingle, upload it to my channel, and then say, this is mine. Go to the copyright system and just say, oh, all these Akalon videos, they're mine now. And the system will accept that. And then Akalon gets like a bunch of copyright claims from me, and then he has to go and dispute them. And as he disputes them, I just go to the dispute screen and go like, no, it's mine. And then Akalon has to go get a fucking lawyer to deal with this situation because that's the only way to solve it. That's how the system works currently, which is ridiculous. But yeah, it's
nuts.
very easily exploitable. But yeah.
Yeah. But okay, so yeah, the kick thing is interesting. I think there's a lot more, hopefully, that's going to come of this. And hopefully we see actually a lot more competition within this space,
Absolutely.
which is ultimately,
It's always a good thing.
I think, what we all want to see. Except, of course, for YouTube, who still has not woken up. They, about 3 years ago, decided they wanted to do some stream stuff and then just sort of went, we'll get to it. And just nothing's happening. It's just like, they have one of the greatest streaming experiences out there, right? It's shit to stream to YouTube. I'll say this.
I don't agree.
Because as soon as the stream drops, here's why I hate it. Because you have to set up a stream prior to the stream, right? So you have to go, this is the name, this is the thumbnail, whatever, right? If the internet drops, which if you live in South Africa and you're streaming to Europe, it can happen. I have to restart the whole bloody thing. Like I have to do another another setup because
that's
I
where
can't
you're
see
wrong.
anything
Because
from the original.
The reason that is happening to you is because of Restream. Because if you actually stream to YouTube, that doesn't happen. To give you an idea, just yesterday, I was streaming Nightreign. I had a blue screen of death on my streaming computer. It went down for about like 3 minutes, which is how much it took me to like reboot, get everything set up to go again. Went back live, still on the same VOD. Everything's flawless. No issues. Unlike Twitch, by the way, where you can't do that. And I don't know if you can do it on Kick or not.
What do you mean you can do it on like Twitch? You just start again and it just starts again.
Yeah, but it makes a new VOD.
It's not going to be the same VOD.
Yeah, exactly. But in my case, it is. No, I didn't crash. What?
Oh, there you go.
No,
your thing just froze on.
No,
on
I'm saying
sorry.
like it on my case yesterday when I had the blue screen death, the VOD is the same. It's the same VOD. It's not a new VOD. It's the same VOD. And for anybody watching that VOD, it will be the transition will be seamless. It's like, oh, there was a crash, and then it's me saying, oh, guys, sorry, I crashed. Like a millisecond. There's not even like a stop in the broadcast for the VOD.
You see, I don't even when I streamed officially to YouTube. This is now years
it's
ago.
Because
like
you had
2-3 years ago.
It's because there's a setting. There's a setting, and it.
I should let me check out the setting because maybe it's like turn off if you don't get anything automatically or some shit. I'll check it out. I'll see if I can fix it.
The start stop automatically setting, you have to turn that off. You can't have start stop automatic because what that does is like the second there's no stream, it's like okay, stream's over, VOD, boom, and you have to make a new VOD. But if you don't have that on,
if that disappears, probably not the worst thing in the world. I still want a couple of other things gone. I would love to see thumbnails gone.
No.
I don't like the fact that I have to say thumbnails for bloody streams.
You need that. See, that's the thing.
That annoys me.
That's what brings discoverability. That's what Twitch doesn't fucking have. There's no discoverability.
Discoverability by ass. You don't get discoverability. You get discoverability from videos that then watch the streams.
You are completely wrong. I am telling you, when it comes to concurrent viewers, whenever there's like a big event for the games that I cover, my numbers are consistently above what my subscriber average should get. Okay. Like always, because of the discoverability of the platform. Because it has way more discoverability. Like, listen, I told you when I actually streamed from Gamescom, it was over 10,000 concurrents. It's it's fucking nuts.
Great.
Yeah, it's fucking nuts. But that's discoverability on the platform.
Yeah, but I feel like it's not. I don't know.
Listen, I will tell you exactly what you feel.
Better ways to do discoverability.
I'll tell you exactly what you feel. It's harder, and you're right. It is harder. That's it.
I wouldn't say it's harder. It's just a lot more sort of admin that you have to do before you can just get into the street.
It's more work. It's more work than what because like going live on Twitch is like, here's the title,
press the button and go
live. I'm good. Going live on YouTube, it's like, oh, I have to make this event and I have to do this thing, and then I have to make sure that I go live at this time. And blah, blah, blah. You have to do all of this shit. Yes, you're right, but that is what makes it more discoverable.
I think discoverability is still dog shit, even with all the extra work that you do.
It is not.
But I will say, from a viewing perspective, I watch only YouTube live streams.
Of course.
Because the viewing experience is better. Chat experience is far worse, in my opinion. And the membership experience is probably the worst. I don't even know why membership exists on YouTube, because the one feature that it should come with,
it's
YouTube still has not implemented. Why are you seeing ads?
And if you're
a member to the channel,
and if you remember, I told you, I said in the podcast a couple of weeks ago that YouTube was going to start forcing you to have mid-roll ads on streams. That time, by the way, is here. That time is here. It is now. Because I noticed that my streams were going down the shitter because I purposefully refused to implement mid-roll ads, because the second that I found out that, like, wait, members are getting ads, this is the dumbest shit. This is so fucking stupid. Why would you do that? It's ridiculous. So I was like, okay, members are getting ads. I'm turning off ads. So I turned off mid-roll ads, and it was fine for a while. But then I told you they're going to start forcing it, because I saw like a bunch of banners going up on YouTube saying like, by the way, here's what you got to do to put mid-roll ads. And I was like, oh, it's coming. And over the last couple of weeks, I started noticing like massive dips in viewership in the streams, and I was like, oh,
it's the thumbnails, bro. I guess it's the thumbnails that's dipping it. Yeah, I'm telling you.
I was like, I guess the time is now. So I turned on mid-roll ads, boop, and it went right back up. It went right back. I was like, yep, because the same thing happened to me with VODs. I refused to do mid-roll ads on VODs for the longest time, because I was like, mid-roll ads on a VOD is fucking stupid. It's bad for the viewer experience. Yes, of course.
You keep it public.
Yes.
I unlist mine.
And you do you. I'm not saying that the way that I do it is right, by the way.
I unlisted it because I'm afraid like it screws up the algorithm, but live streaming already screws up the algorithm so much it doesn't even matter.
It fucks with the algorithm, but I'm getting to that point where it's like, I just don't give a fuck, bro. Like I just like, listen, fuck it. Just send it. It's gonna end at some point, and we're coming up to the point where it's gonna end. So I'm gonna have to go get like another job. I'm gonna go work construction at 43 or something. I don't fucking know, dude. But it's like it's gonna end. Okay, the popularity thing. You're not gonna be popular forever. So it's like, listen, people want to watch the stuff. Great. They don't want to watch it. That means that I'm done as a creator, and it's whatever. So far, people are still watching, so that's all good. But like I said, the thing to me is, and this really sucks, I don't like the fact that it is that you're expected to do mid-roll ads now, because if you don't, they're absolutely going to start downranking your streams, because I've noticed an instant shift from the moment I turned that shit back on. I was like, oh yeah, it's working. And the worst part is they have a frequency of ads that you're supposed to set like every other minute or whatever. And I put it on the lowest one. But I predict the next step is they're going to start punishing people that have it on the lowest.
They're going to want you to go balanced. Yeah.
Because I have it where it's set up was like the longest time, I think, was like 30 minutes. I think that's the best that you could do. And I was like, well, I guess here we go. And I'm pretty sure that they're going to force you to have that on with much more regularity, which fucking sucks.
The one thing... But this is the thing that I don't mind if you force people to mid-roll. Twitch does it too. This seems to be the new thing. So fine. But then why don't you allow members to just not see
members shouldn't see ads, like straight up.
Because they're already giving you $5 a month. Why should they still watch a bunch of ads?
Let me tell you why. Because YouTube wants people to pay for memberships and then also pay for YouTube Premium. That's why. Because
but
fuck
the
you,
issue
give
is-
me money.
So, yeah, but this is what I don't understand, right? If you take YouTube Premium, which is like not that much money, I have YouTube Premium.
I have YouTube
right? It's
Premium
super
as well.
cheap,
Yeah.
right? And it's well worth it not to see the ads, and I don't really use any of the other perks, but the ads thing is great. But if you use YouTube Premium, the amount of money that YouTube actually makes out of YouTube Premium, considering even if I look at my own channel, YouTube Premium money is not terrible money. Like you get cash from
paid.
it's not great, but
It's like a step below the most premium ads that you can get or something like that in terms for the creators. Like somebody watching your content and if they have YouTube Premium, it's pretty significant.
It's pretty decent, right? You get quite a bit of money from it. I guarantee you, buck for buck, membership cut for YouTube makes far more than what YouTube Premium makes for YouTube.
Absolutely.
Considering all the money they give away with YouTube Premium. So why can you not make it so that if I pay $5 for Mythic Banter a month, I don't see ads on Mythic Banter podcasts?
No, it's stupid. And it's like one of the things that I always bring up because you have meetings with partner managers from time to time. That's always the one thing I'm like, listen, go tell them to fucking not play ads to my members. Like, I don't give a fuck what everybody else is doing. Just, I don't want ads on my members. That's it. But, you know, that's never going to change.
Well, if you don't want ads on your members, stop taking pictures of them and uploading them to YouTube. Like, I don't understand. Like, your member will not be in ads if you don't put it on the internet where it comes. I have to do it. I had no choice.
There it is. There it is. But yeah, the content creation space is in constant flux, and it is going faster than ever before. And multi-streaming is going to be something that a lot of people are going to do. I'm an old man. If they fix the chat experience, sure, I'll multi-stream. But until then, I'm right here on YouTube for most things.
I mean, speaking of insane situations, and I do have to say, this is probably, as someone who doesn't really partake in this community, it's been wild to see the situation in Monster Hunter Wilds.
The puns never end, huh?
No, but it has been wild. Like, I have been looking at this going, dude, what the hell is going on in Monster Hunter? It is mostly negative right now. People are beyond upset. Every day I open my X and it's just more people complaining about stuff in Monster Hunter. What is going on?
Monster Hunter Wilds has had some pretty bad reception on Steam because the optimization hasn't been great. And that's something that, you know, whenever there's poor optimization, there's going to be issues.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there has been something which is some of the features that this Monster Hunter brings is a huge departure from previous Monster Hunter. So in terms of like the overall difficulty of the game, which is only now getting updates that are bringing meaningful challenge for the veterans, right? Because we're getting 8-star, 5-strength tempered monsters now, which are really, really stronger than some of the stuff that we had before. But up until this point, like if you are somebody who knows how to play Monster Hunter, you are going to just shred through the game. That doesn't mean the game's not fun. It's still really fun, but a lot of people wanted more challenge. That's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is, like I said already, performance. But on top of performance, there's another problem, which is, you know, just the GPU situation right now is a piece of shit. So NVIDIA's drivers pretty much during the review period of Monster Hunter were garbage. Like, this is what everybody tells me. And those drivers have been garbage nonstop. So NVIDIA is actually doing worse than AMD in terms of fucking driver stability, which is mind-blowing, I know.
That is mind-blowing.
So that is also something that a lot of people, because of like the timing of them going to shit with their drivers being very closely tied to the release of Monster Hunter Wilds, that's also something that, you know, people will say, oh, Rurikon's making up excuses. Like, no, Wilds also has performance problems. Don't get it twisted. It has huge performance issues on a wide variety of systems. But NVIDIA's drivers are just exacerbating the situation that is happening in Monster Hunter Wilds as well. The other thing is most people don't update their chipset drivers, which is something that I've come to find over the last couple of weeks. I've heard from people after I said, hey, listen, try updating your chipset drivers. Most of the people came back and they were like, oh man, my performance was shit. I updated my chipset drivers and shit's completely different now. It ain't perfect, but it's way better than it was before. So
I will be honest, I don't even update my chipset drivers. Like, they're sort of there, they do their thing. And unless they create serious problems, I won't touch them.
Yeah, but the problem is that some people never even installed them to begin with. So they don't even have. They have whatever came with Windows.
There's also BIOS updates. A lot of people don't do BIOS updates ever.
BIOS sometimes less important. It varies on a case-by-case basis. Depends on,
Dependent on, right? Especially when you have like new hardware coming in, like a new graphics card coming in. You can sometimes get the BIOS of your old motherboard is not playing nice with the new hardware. So you gotta have to have an update to make sure they're playing nice.
But yeah, so there's all of that stuff going on. And then at the same time, it's just like there's also people that came from stuff like Iceborne or Sunbreak, which is the G rank expansions. And those expansions come with way more content than the base game, like Monster Hunter Wilds. And they're kind of like comparing it that way. And to them, it's like, so wait, in this other game, I had fucking 70 plus monsters, and in this new one I have 29. Like, what the fuck is this bullshit? Like, what's going on? There's massive downgrade, right? So there's that as well. But I think one of the biggest problems, and especially now that it is going mostly negative, this might be the one problem that is causing it. I could be wrong. I'm not trying to say that I speak for everyone in the community. This is from everything that I'm looking at, the reason why it might be mostly negative. What I noticed was in the latest title update, which came with the more challenging monsters and all of that stuff, I noticed that I booted up my game and I was like, oh, it hasn't recompiled my shaders. Because you usually see like a small little loading screen that does shader compilation.
Yeah, where it goes recompiling shaders.
It didn't recompile the shaders, and I was like, huh, that's strange. And then I'm getting into the game and it's a fucking slideshow. Like it's actually fucking atrocious. So I'm like, oh, I need to figure out a way to force the game to recompile the shaders. So I go and I look up how to do that. And there's a file on the folder of the game called shader.cache. You just delete that, and the game will recompile all of the shaders. Supposedly, if it's on an NVIDIA card, the file is called shader.cache2. So yeah, you just delete that file, then you relaunch the game, and it will recompile all the shaders, and that fixed the problem straight up. The problem is, I think a lot of people are running into this problem, and they're like, the game is fucking unplayable right now, which is, it's correct. It is unplayable. If it doesn't recompile your shaders after the update, you are fucking cooked. You're never going to play the game like that. It's literally impossible. So I think a lot of people ran into that, and they decided to like voice that on Steam reviews.
Can I ask, was it made with Unreal?
No, it's RE Engine.
Why is it struggling so much? Like,
because
this is a new. Is it because they were really pushing the technology?
So what happens with RE Engine is that this is the engine that they did to do their Resident Evil remakes. So it's very good for small scope. It also did amazing work getting Monster Hunter Rise and Sunbreak to work on the Switch, because it's just like a feat of technology how good that game looks on the Switch while still maintaining steady 30 FPS. It's like fucking insane. So that's what they're doing it for, like, right, for mostly limited games. And then when they first used it in Dragon's Dogma 2, there were serious performance issues there that they haven't been able to fix up until this point. And now they're doing it in Monster Hunter Wilds, and basically some of those problems are still there. Like, it's very heavy on the CPU side of things, which is why I said chipset drivers become even more important, because chipset drivers is kind of like how your motherboard communicates with your CPU. So if that's not being done to the best possible extent, you're not really taking full advantage of your CPU, and that's going to cause you issues, right? So that is another situation. But yeah, it's mostly performance stuff. Some people aren't happy with the level of challenge that the game brought. Some people have other issues like focus mode, removing some of the some of the commitment that you have to do to animations. So there's a bunch of different things that can happen
but
there.
Most of it is just performance or changes to gameplay that people aren't necessarily super on board with at the moment.
Yeah, that's why
because mostly negative is insane.
Yeah, it is.
For a Monster Hunter title, that is insane.
Yeah, like
Capcom tends to have a very loyal player base. So to see to see that, I think can't be fun for the developers, right? Realizing that, oh shit, the community has turned. They've turned and it's not pretty. You know what? What I will say to the gaming community, and this is hats off to gamers. I think gamers have finally, for years, the media sort of treated review bombing as if it was an actual reason for why things fail. Even if you sort of go, wait, but that doesn't track, because if a game was really, really good, even if it was review bombed, people would still play it, you know, because it's a really, really good game. And I think you can still see that because Monster Hunter still has a lot of people playing it, right? It's not like people aren't playing it, but I think gamers have finally realized review bombing is a way to get our way, right? We can punish these guys by review bombing their games and making sure that they do the fixes that we want. So, hats off to the gamers for fighting back. Maybe there's going to be innocent people caught up in the nonsense, but hey, overall it might be good.
There is one more thing that if I don't mention it, the community is going to rake me over the coals, which is a lot of people are also they have this.
I thought you were going to say Gunlance is completely great.
No, Gunlance is amazing. I love Gunlance. But there's a lot of people that also believe that the game came out unfinished, which from a optimization standpoint, I'm very much inclined to agree. But they believe that there was content taken out of it that's been getting doled out throughout Title Update 1 and all of that stuff. Particularly because we didn't really have a gathering hub. We didn't really have a gathering hub when the game came out, but people thought that this might be because, every city is a gathering hub because you can get together on any city in the game, and that kind of works that way. I've always said I want a gathering hub. We got a gathering hub with Title Update 1, and people are saying so the game was unfinished because we only got gathering hub with Title Update 1. I don't know whether it was unfinished or not. My suspicion is that Capcom wanted to get engagement over the following months of the game, and releasing the gathering hub later just made more sense. I'm not saying that's a good thing, because, it is what it is.
It is almost certainly not.
But that's another one of the reasons. Now, the other thing that you're bringing to my attention, we even spoke on X briefly, was the unauthorized use of pre-release content. So I have the post right here. This is from the official Monster Hunter account regarding unauthorized use of pre-release content. The unauthorized acquisition or use of unreleased content, such as armor, is a violation of the rules. As the release of Title Update 1, accounts found to have clearly engaged in such misconduct are now being suspended progressively starting today. Measures will continue to be enforced moving forward. If your account is, then there's a bunch of stuff here about if your account is suspension, here's what you can do, and here's the reporting feature and all that stuff. And then they say, to ensure a safe and enjoyable experience for all players, we kindly ask that you refrain from any form of cheating or unauthorized behavior. Now, you were asking me what is going on with this. And here is the problem, right? And here is my stance on all of this stuff. It is, you buy a game. In your single player game, do whatever the fuck you want, dude. I couldn't care less. Hack the fuck out of the game. Change all of your stats. Bring in armor that's hidden away in the game files. Do whatever the fuck you want. In your single player game, you can do whatever you want, and that's none of my business because that's what you're doing, and you've already bought the game, and that's none of my business. The moment you bring any of that shit online, get banned. Don't give a fuck. Zero empathy whatsoever for you. I do not care. So here is the issue, because you were asking me, well, what's the problem if people using this armor? They're not harming anyone. It's no, because you are bringing in stats to the game to where the game is not prepared to handle these stats just yet.
Okay, but just to be clear, that's not what I said, right? So I don't have a problem with the fact that it's wrong or that they shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
My problem was, how are they able to do it?
Because
you brought up, well, how do they get all this information on Wowhead? And the difference would be, in WoW, you can data mine and you can find out what will be coming, but you can't use that until it's live.
Yes.
The fact that they can use that already, to me, suggests a mistake on Capcom's side.
So here's
how can you have files in a game that is already usable before it's even gone live? Isn't that a coding problem on your side? And then you cannot perma-ban people for using a mod that makes it available, because that was your mistake.
On
you should have had
multiplayer?
that locked down.
On
right?
multiplayer?
Yeah, you should have had it locked down. You should have ensured that people can't access it until it goes live.
So
The
that's
fact
like
that you can already have it in the game, isn't
that's
that
like-
your fault?
that's like saying like, "Oh, you shot this person. I should have never let you buy a gun."
Well, to some extent, yes, probably, but actually more importantly,
you have to enforce the rules because like people are going to cheat, basically.
yeah. But how much of it was cheating and how much of it was just legitimate mods that people thought, oh, I can get this mod, this is really cool. So they weren't trying to necessarily cheat. They just thought, hey, there's a mod that gives me access to all these new armors. I'm going to go for it.
Here's what I'll say. Like I said, if you do that offline, I don't care. Do whatever you want. You bring that shit online, to me, as far as I'm concerned, you can get banned forever. Hell, they should revoke your license of the game in your account, as far as I'm concerned, because I fucking hate cheaters. I hate cheaters in multiplayer games. Like, I'm sorry, bro. I don't like it.
Okay, but you see, this is where I sort of go, I fully agree that if you cheat in online games, you should actually be locked up if you're cheating in online games.
Yeah.
Because it is disgusting and it drives a lot of people insane. But if it is a mistake on the game developer side,
how is it a mistake on the game developer side?
Even do it? Because any other game, right? Even in WoW, where all the data files are available and they data mine the living shit out of it, there is zero way to get the data files to activate in the game until the patch goes live.
What if I'm on a private server
and see it, right?
What if I'm on a
private servers already break the law, right? Because they reverse engineer the entire thing.
But now let me tell you. The reason why you're able to do it is because the save data from Monster Hunter is stored locally. And the reason for that is because that enables you to play offline. If you have a system like World of Warcraft, you cannot play the video game offline. So it's more secure, but you lose offline play. So that is the choice that you can make. You can either have the files locally and play offline and then potentially risk having these things happen. Or you can just be like, nope, you have to log into a server to get your shit, and then it's hard for people to cheat.
You see, but this is where I would be like, first and foremost, ban the mod creators. Like, go after them because they're the ones who created the mods that allowed people to do it, right? And then I would be okay with suspending the people who installed the mod for like a month, right? But it feels like there might be people who were punished who weren't necessarily trying to.
As of the release of Title Update 1, accounts found to have clearly engaged in such misconducts are now being suspended. They're not banned. They're being suspended.
Well, let's see.
It's literally what you just said. It's literally what you just said.
I know. Yeah, but I know on this post, right, there's people who said they were found and they were banned permanently because they used the mod and the mod gave them access to a piece of armor and they were banned permanently. So their use, I should just mention the word suspended has taken multiple meanings because Twitch also suspends people indefinitely. And it's just like, we're not banning you. We're just indefinitely suspending you for an X amount of time. So I'm not sure. I'm not saying that they are banning people. I'm just saying from what I've seen now, these people can be lying. I don't necessarily agree that if you can make it so that people can get their hands on this stuff, you should partly take the blame for it as well, right? Because you made it available for people to already exploit to some extent. And maybe you shouldn't have allowed that.
There's no easy way out of this because here's the situation.
No, obviously not.
Let's say the update drops a week from now, but you have slow internet. Here's what Capcom can do. They can drop the update files early and then unencrypt them later. That's something that they can do. So they'll drop the update files early and your game is like updating while you're playing and you're slowly updating the game, and then day comes. It's like they just flip the switch. The files get decrypted. You're good to go. The content is there. And you don't have to like sit there in a fucking queue and wait for your slow ass internet to download the update, which is how we did it back in Monster Hunter World. Every update in Monster Hunter World, it was like this stream that I would do where the first half of the stream is just me playing the game for a little bit. And it's like, okay, the update dropped. Now everybody gets to stare at my updating screen for like an hour, right? Which is fucking miserable for everyone. So they did it optimized this time. Now the problem is, even if you encrypt files, like some people are going to be able to dig that shit up, right? There's a limit to the security that you can implement into a video game file, right? They're not fucking encrypting this with Pentagon levels of security. They're doing what they can to stop.
Pentagon isn't even encrypting with Pentagon levels of security.
Probably, yeah, probably. But you know what I'm saying, right? So it's there's a limit to how much they're going to be putting in to prevent this, right? But ultimately, the idea is you get the update early, and then you're ready to go when they flip the switch. That's why, and that's how people were able to access these files early. Now,
I understand that.
Like I said, if you're doing solo stuff. If you're doing it in single player, I don't really care. If you're doing it in multiplayer, it's a different conversation.
I want to make it clear here that I'm not suggesting that, people who did this on purpose and they were genuinely trying to exploit the system and they were being malicious about it shouldn't get punished. My problem was more the fact that you might get people who genuinely weren't even thinking that they're really exploiting the system. Maybe they were just downloading the mods because they thought, hey, I want to see what this new stuff is going to look like. And then they started going online and they completely forgot that they were even using this stuff. So you're going to catch a bunch of people that maybe weren't necessarily trying to be like super malicious, right? So I don't know. I understand that it's a difficult problem to solve because on the one hand, you don't want people to just sit there and deal with sometimes days of not being able to play because you're downloading stuff and patches are literally available only on the day of. You also don't want this situation to happen. But this situation cannot not happen if you want people to be able to play offline. So you're sort of stuck in this weird realm of what do we do?
So the good thing about it is that with their current server structure, it's my understanding that they can actually look into stuff like that. So if somebody is just using like cosmetic shit or whatever, they can actually go and contact Capcom support because Capcom's actually been one of the few companies that rather than laying people off, they've actually been hiring. So it's like they do have like a support team.
That Monster Hunter money is good.
Yeah. So they do have a support team in place that you can probably appeal, which is what they mentioned even in the post, go through an appeal process and, see if you can make your case. But I think you'll be able to get a response that way, hopefully. But it's like at the end of the day, Capcom needs to enforce some of their multiplayer stuff. So to give you an idea that you might not be aware of, Capcom was trying to actually do speedrunner challenges in Monster Hunter Wilds. And they ended up not being able to do it on PC. Actually, I think on any platform because they canceled those plans simply because there were just so many people that were obviously blatantly cheating. Like people that would go in, kill a monster in 1 second. And you're like, oh, yeah, sure, bro. Monster hasn't even loaded in. It's already dead. That's fantastic. Good job. Wow. It's like best speedrunner in the world. It's like, come on, bro. It's like, what the fuck? But that's what people do because they're like, oh yeah, I want the reward for the speedrunner thing. It's like, bro, you're not a speedrunner. Don't cheat because you want a reward. Like, what the fuck? So there was an veritable epidemic of cheating when it came to that stuff. And Capcom's cracking down, which I'm like, fuck them cheaters, bro. Sorry. If you want to cheat in the single player version, go right ahead. You have my full support. If you want to cheat in multiplayer, get fucked, bro. See ya. Never gonna miss you.
Okay, well, I guess I understand the frustration from the Monster Hunter community.
Oh yeah.
And obviously I'm very open to whatever opinion you guys hold on this because I'm not part of the Monster Hunter community, right? I don't play the game. So I'm just sort of looking from the outside. And I'm making a judgment call based on the information that's given to me. But I understand that there's probably a lot more to the story than just
I think that
what people are claiming.
With the negative reviews as well, as much as it pains me to see it, because like I'm a huge fan of the game. I've never made that. I've told people I'm biased towards Monster Hunter. It's that simple because I like the game a ton. Yeah. And it pains me to see it. I think that in a lot of ways there are it's not necessarily a bad thing that it is like that because Bellilar inclusively recently had a video that he put up. I'm not sure if you've seen it, where he talks about the situation and the fiscal year stuff and the financials of Capcom and their plans and all of this. And it's actually a really good video that people should check out. I don't agree necessarily with everything that is said in that video, but in there he also explains like the financial motivations for Monster Hunter coming out the way that it did and all of that. And you know, it is what it is. It's just like I'm just
if it works, it works.
Yeah, I'm just interested right now and enjoying the updates that are coming and all of that stuff. I've criticized the aspects that upset me about the game, performance still being one of them that they definitely need to work on more. But at the end of the day, I hope that they can pull it through, and I'm always going to be hopeful for it because I love Monster Hunter.
Yeah. No, I think that's perfectly fair. I think, speaking of something that we both can agree is, at least for me, this is quite bittersweet. I'm going to be honest. I'm not a huge fan of Epic, right? And I'm not a huge fan of Tim Sweeney. But I'm also not a fan of Apple.
You want to hear something really funny? So if you remember a couple of podcasts ago, we spoke about a game called Blades of Fire. That game's only available on Epic. So I installed it on Epic on this computer here in the studio, and then I installed it on Epic in my house. And you know, I played. This was when I was reviewing it and going over the game, and whatnot. You know, I played a little bit here, and then I went home, and I was like, oh, let me just get that cloud save, and no, right, the cloud save. This isn't Steam. Oh no!
Yeah.
So there was no save there. I was like, oh, I guess I can't play it now. Okay, thanks. That's great.
I mean, that is definitely part of the conversation. The first part, I think a lot of people... Now, the only reason I'm including it here is because of the absurdity of the whole thing. Because even Balila made this whole video about how this is some of the greatest news in the history of gaming ever. Tim Sweeney and Epic just won their lawsuit against Apple and their marketplace bullshit. And throughout the whole 20 minutes of Balila's video, the one question I kept asking chat over and over again as we were reacting to this what does this have to do with gaming? Epic
it's because
has kicked Apple in the gonads over mobile bullshit. Who cares?
Yeah, because the reason it has to do with gaming is this happened because of Fortnite. You know that, right?
But Fortnite mobile.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit what happens on mobile? Like, so Epic can make a little bit more money on mobile. I couldn't care less.
Yeah,
like,
but that's
I'm sorry, but mobile gamers are not gamers.
Unfortunately, a majority of the gaming community is on mobile, which,
yeah. Well, it is, just to be fair, it is shrinking, right? I think last I checked, mobile now controls about 58% of the full market.
Which used to be in the down 60s. To 0.0000001%.
Well, the thing is,
mobile games, bro. Fuck them.
Mobile has come down. PC has obviously now overtaken console. So it might be that we eventually get to a place where it's sort of parity between PC, console, and mobile. But fundamentally, I understand why this is a great move for mobile. I think the argument that this is a great move for gaming, that's bullshit. Like, it's going to have no effect on my life or on any of you that watch this that don't play mobile games. Because it's not suddenly going to change anything for me, right? Because fundamentally, the next part of this is where I think Tim Sweeney, sort of this lawsuit gave Tim Sweeney a new sort of hard-on and sort of like a preemptive boner to be like, well, I'm on a roll, may as well throw the dice once more. And he's again going after Steam. Well, I say again, he's still going after Steam.
Oh, no.
Trying to take on Steam with every sort of move out there.
I mean, I didn't even know that he was taking aim at Steam again with the revenue splits. What's the deal with this? You're going to have to fill me in.
All right. So just to quickly give you guys an update, Epic has been sort of since 2018 really officially started their war with Valve.
Yeah.
But the war really started already in the 2012s, where Tim Sweeney already started to complain about Steam and the Steam cut, the 30%
The
Steam
30%, yeah.
cut. Yeah. Now, Steam has since done a sort of different one where for once you've made 1 million on Steam, you're not 1 million. Once you've made 5 million on Steam, it goes from 30 to 25. And then I think it's 50 million. I think it's the first 25 million goes from 30 to 25, and then 50 million goes from 25 to 20. So you do get a little bit back on the amount of money that you made, or once you get to those levels, which isn't impossible. Game companies make way more than that if their games are successful, but Tim Sweeney doesn't like that either, because he still thinks it's too high, and Steam is just giving candy to the rich people rather than giving it to the poor developers that's struggling. So Tim Sweeney obviously came out with the Epic Game Store. The Epic Game Store only does 12%, and no one goes to the Epic Game Store. So Epic Game Store goes, I know, we'll do the one thing that PC gamers will love: exclusives. Now, I don't know if this bro don't know anything about PC players, but I get the console Andes. You guys love your exclusives. On PC, we're not so exclusively minded.
It's actually interesting that was the one time that I've never seen exclusives work, is like whenever they get released to Epic and they're still not successful despite having exclusives. I'm just like, wow, that sure is something.
I mean, they walked it back even, right? And in their public profile, in the lawsuit, like, this is one of the cool things about the Apple lawsuit. It sort of gave us insight. Epic lost insane money on the exclusive deals. They lost so much money on the gaming exclusives because it ultimately turned out that no one is really switching. Epic then came in with this whole free game move, which, thanks to the lawsuits, again show that Epic is losing insane money on the free games thing, because it seems like most people that use the Epic Game Store only use it to claim free games. They don't really buy games on the Epic Game Store. They'll buy them on Steam, right? Now, the newest revenue split controversy is actually Tim Sweeney has just announced. This was literally the day after the lawsuit. Tim Sweeney comes out and he's like, oh, boys, by the way, if you launch on Epic, we will charge you 0 fees for the first $1 million of your game. So on the first $1 million, no fees whatsoever. Trying to once again entice people over to Epic. Here's the problem for Tim Sweeney. The Epic Game Store still sucks dick.
It does.
It's still one of the worst stores in gaming. Like, dude, the Android store is better than the Epic Game Store, and the Android store is pretty crap.
EA Origin, I think, probably is better than the Epic Game Store.
Ubisoft Uplay
okay,
is better.
Uplay, I'm not going to go that far, okay? That's a bridge too far, my friend.
Dude, at least with Uplay, if I want to install the game, it goes. If uninstalling the game is very hard, but installing the game works like a charm. Yeah, you have access to your games at least.
That's a bridge
uninstalling
too
not
far.
so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like he keeps trying to fight Steam, and according to him, the reason he needs to do this is Steam is sort of like a monopoly, although it's a complete misuse of the word monopoly because Steam isn't a monopoly.
Steam is a de facto
out
standard. It's a de facto standard, which is a different thing from monopoly, but sure.
And what he doesn't understand is the reason Steam is the de facto standard, or the monopoly in his case, in his words, isn't because Steam is doing anything scumbag. It's because everything I want a launcher to do, Steam does. Like, there's nothing else I can think of that I need Steam to be able to do that it isn't doing. And until Epic Game Store gets to that place where I go, yeah, this is everything I needed to do, why would I switch? Right? You just said it. You can't cloud save. So it immediately gets to this place of, okay, but why would I switch to this if Steam
You can
is better.
cloud save. I've seen the option there. I don't know why that game wasn't using it. I was just, it was just something that I've gotten so used to on Steam that every game has that I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
why can't I just do cloud save? What the fuck's going on? That's weird.
I will say in this instance, I think Grums had a good point. Epic's biggest mistake is that they are developer forward, not
customer
forward. Yeah. They don't do what the customer wants. They think that if they can convince the developer to come to Epic, the customer will just follow. What they still haven't understood is the customer is happy to wait. The customer is happy
PC players are happy to wait, bro.
Yeah. And perhaps most importantly, his argument about the 30%, 12% split, I think, is also completely disingenuous. Because yes, Steam takes 30%, but for the 30% that Steam takes, they take care of all of your technical problems, right? If players have a problem, they can open a ticket and the ticket goes straight to Steam and they handle that shit. They take care of the infrastructure for players to be able to get your game. They take care of the marketing for your game. You literally have a massive audience, all inclusive, in that 30% split, right? So you're not paying for marketing because Steam will actually market your game. They'll try and get your game in front of players if that's the kind of thing that players play for.
They have discoverability.
So I think the biggest problem is Epic Game Store is just looking at the percentages. Tim Sweeney is just going, no, 30% is disgusting. Look at our 12%. It's like, yeah, but what am I getting for my 30% versus my 12% for you? Because 12% for you means I'm getting a broken ass platform that isn't where players want to be. And I'm getting no free marketing because you can't even market your own store to players. How are you marketing my game to players? And it actually becomes super clear when you look at the money spent and the hours spent on Epic Game Store by players. Over 7 billion hours are spent on the Epic Game Store for first-party experiences, right? Fortnite, effectively. But it's only 2 billion for third-party experiences. So you can already see that the Epic Store is sort of inflated in terms of how many users it actually has, because the overwhelming majority of those users are only Fortnite users. Like, if the Epic Game Store removed Fortnite from the Epic Game Store tomorrow and just made it a standalone thing that you can load into, Epic Game Store would die. There would be no people using it. So, I don't know. He seems to have overshot his popularity. He thinks that just because a lot of people use the Game Store to play Fortnite, they'll also buy games. But I feel like Fortnite players specifically, it's kind of like the World of War. It's sort of like the Battle.net launcher. Call of Duty or Activision thought, hey, you know what will really sell? There's millions of people using Battle.net every day to play WoW. What if we put our games on Battle.net? And what they found was WoW players aren't gamers. They just play WoW.
They just play World of Warcraft.
So any other game that goes onto the store, it's just like, I don't know what this is. This looks like a virus. I'll just keep playing WoW, thank you. So it's like you're getting the wrong numbers from this shit. But yeah, do you have anything to add to this? This now that you know what's going on?
No, not really. I mean, it's like, look, Epic Store is not there yet. I would be happy if they were able to make it proper and actually make a viable competition for Steam, because that could actually be a good thing for us. But unfortunately, just like throwing your weight around isn't really going to make that happen. Like, you need to actually work on your fucking app and make it much more user-friendly with the features that people want and all of that good stuff. And before that, you need to shut your fucking pie hole about everything else. It's like, make a competitive product, then come back. Because if anything, people have shown that they're willing to take a chance on competitive products when they're good. But if your product is not competitive, doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely doesn't. And I feel like in this case, take a page out of GOG's playbook. They're not trying to fight Steam. They understand that would be a losing battle. right?
They're doing their own thing.
They're surviving and they're thriving because they're not trying to fight Steam. Whereas Tim Sweeney continuously thinks that, hey, we just have to get the games on here and the players will play. Bro, you don't know us.
Yep.
We're happy to shoot ourselves in the dick if it means not using a service we don't want. Speaking of people shooting themselves in the dick,
damn.
So CD Projekt Red had a moment in this week. It's an interesting one because it's everything that I hate from cinematics put into over 10 minutes of basic cinematic bullshit.
You're talking about
I hate cinema.
The Witcher 4 gameplay reveal at Unreal Fest. So one of the things that is important to mention...
But it's not a gameplay reveal.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a technical demo.
It's a technical demo. One of the important things to mention is that Unreal Fest is for developers. It is not aimed at your general consumers. But it was interesting.
But it's aimed at consumers too, though. Like,
a little bit. That's why it's public.
Hey, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Look at our game.
So I watched this on Wednesday ahead of the PlayStation State of Play because I hadn't watched it up until that point. And I figured, we're doing State of Play later tonight, so I might as well watch this while I'm waiting for State of Play to start. So I watched it, and listen, it is well known that I fucking loathe Unreal Engine 5. And I look at this
Wait, you hate Unreal Engine 5?
Yeah, I don't like it. I think it's terrible. So I look at
really?
this.
You don't ever say that.
And
I never hear you say that.
And the thing starts, and I'm looking at the art style, and I was like, man, that's some Unreal Engine 5 ass art style right there. I mean, you could put footage of this right next to Black Myth Wukong, and you might not even be able to tell the difference. It's the same fucking thing. So I'm exaggerating a little bit. Okay, I get it, but it's just
but I get your point.
The important thing is everybody's saying like, "Oh, this looks so fucking amazing, so impressive, so revolutionary," and I'm just like, "It looks fine." And then they zoom in on the horse, and you can see the veins of the horse and all of this stuff.
The
muscles, all of the stuff. And I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking to myself, that's going to be fantastic for the entirety of about 10 seconds.
You won't even see it, bro. Did you not see what happened directly after they showed the muscles? They put horse armor on top of the horse, and you're like, oh, there's the muscles gone. So what are we doing?
It's impressive for the whole of 10 seconds that you're going to look at it and you're never going to care about it again. Okay? It's the same thing as the horse testicles shrinking in Red Dead Redemption 2. It's the same thing as...
the bubbles of beer in GTA.
Yeah, the bubbles of beer in GTA, the fucking RTX, whatever the fuck that you look at it for 10 seconds, like, that looks really good. Now let me go play the video game. And if you are spending all of your time noticing that, that means the video game's probably not engaging you enough to the point where you're just, oh man, but look at the visuals though. The gameplay ain't great, but look at these visuals though.
The balls are like twice the size that they were yesterday. Why are you looking at your horse's balls?
I'm sure that the team is capable of doing like a competent RPG and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's just looking at the amount of detail that they're putting on these visuals, and I can't help but think to myself, this is so incredibly irresponsible. And this is being marketed to developers like, oh, you guys should definitely do this. You should like, listen, if you are like, say, a AA size team, you should definitely not do this. You should definitely not over obsess with the ridiculous amount of detail that they showed in that presentation. Like, it's a fantastic tech demo. It looks good. The thing is, I wouldn't even say it looks super impressive because it has so many different filters of blur on top of it. Right? Yeah. Did you notice that? Like everything's so fucking and there was film grain on it as well, which is one of those things that more and more people are just like, oh yeah, let's put some fucking film grain on this bitch, bro. It's gonna be great. Yeah, and so the
people
blurring,
love watching movies from the 80s.
The blurring plus the film grain plus all the other filters they put on top of it actually made it look worse. Like, I think it looked good. I think it could look way better if you remove all those fucking filters and just have it look like a regular video game. I think the most impressive part, though, was the zooming out and zooming in, because you see
Mhm.
almost no texture pop in. And I was like, that's impressive. Like when you're
Yeah.
zooming in, going through the world, doing all those pan shots, if that is rendering in real time and you are getting like no pop in whatsoever, that part of it
Yeah.
is impressive. That's probably the only thing that's impressive about that whole presentation, as far as I'm concerned.
I'll say this. What I found impressive is it's clear that Epic and Unreal are trying to address the issues with Unreal. So for those of you that don't quite know, when CD Projekt Red didn't come out of nowhere with their move away from the Red engine to Unreal. It actually turns out that this was a deal between Epic and CD Projekt Red from the beginning. Epic recognized that their open world sucks. Like, Unreal open world is really, really bad. And so they went to what they considered to be some of the best open world creators in the world, which would be the guys at CD Projekt Red. Now, you could say, well, actually, the guys from Rockstar is better. Yeah, but Take-Two
actually,
is
you're
never
wrong.
going to move away from their...
Monolith Soft is the best.
You could probably go Monolith as well, but you're going to run into, again, some issues where... So, for example, you could say, well, actually, I think Kojima Productions is the best, because look at Death Stranding. Yeah, but Kojima is never going to move away from Decima, right? Like, why would he? Decima is the engine that he loves the most, so he's not going to move away. Red Engine, or the engine for Rockstar, they're never going to move away from the Rockstar engine. I can't even remember what it's called now.
And by the way,
they have their own engine.
Decima engine
Yeah?
beats the fuck out of Unreal Engine 5.
Oh, yeah. Right? It does, right? But the problem, but I think that's exactly what Unreal is trying to address. They're trying to work with people like CD Projekt Red to fix it. And in that sense, you look at the work that CD Projekt Red have already put in to fix the issues. So, for example, they spoke about, and this is something that was lost on a lot of people as we were even reacting to it. You look at the leaves and how they're fixing the way the nanotechnology works, to where even though it looks like individual leaves, the leaves themselves are literally a single pixel.
They're voxels.
Because of how it's being, because of how it's being layered on top of it. So it lowers the amount of resources required to actually load that stuff in and actually keep it up there. So I thought, from that sense, really, really beautiful. No problem. I'm looking forward to the future of what might be Unreal. The issue that I have is exactly what you said there. And I made this point during the live stream as well. And I specifically made this point during the Sony State of Play. We'll talk about that later. But there's one game in the State of Play that immediately just, I remember thinking, there's something special about stylized graphics that is completely lost in ultra-realistic graphics. Ultra-realistic graphics is the same in every single game, because it's ultra-realistic. So there's no real... If you look at the game that you saw yesterday, right, or the Witcher 4 sort of showcase, and then you look at, say, for example, Death Stranding 2, the worlds are different. Sure, one is fantasy, one is ultra-realistic, but it's the same game, right? Because it's going for ultra-realism, trying to push realistic graphics. So everyone has to look realistic. And you just sort of go, but where's the character? Where's the personality of the world? And stylized graphics can bring personality, can bring character, the character of the world, which ultra-realism is just like, first, we're focusing on things that don't matter, like the horse's bollocks or the muscles of the horses, like who cares? And then they showcase the watching people choose fish in the market. And it's again like, okay, I get that this is going to lead to greater immersion from crowds' perspective, but is that necessary? Right? Is that genuinely what's required? Because in this tech demo, they made it sound like all of this stuff, like the horse stuff, that's a system of Unreal that you just tick on and boom, all the muscles are there. But that's not how it works. when you get down to it, you're going to need developers who actually develop that system to work in your game. And then I just have one question. Is this adding to the fun of the game? Or is this sort of more neutral? Because it's not taking away from the game, don't get me wrong, right? The fact that your horse's bollocks are shrinking and growing in Red Dead Redemption 2 wasn't making the game better or worse. But here's where
how much
it
did it cost? How much did it cost to make those balls shrink?
Because we're the ones paying for this.
Exactly.
We continuously hear from the games developers, oh, we have to charge $80 because, game budgets is now $350 million.
Witcher 4, $100. But look at these fucking horse muscles, though, bro.
And it's like,
look at the horse muscles you're getting for these $100.
Yeah, but that's the thing. If you didn't do the horse muscles, it would probably have been half the budget, right, that you ultimately ended up spending. And then you could have just charged 60 buckaroos. But you wanted to do horse testicles because, who doesn't need a couple of horse testicles? And it's like, well, we don't need those. Like, you didn't need that in order to make your game great. Oh, yeah, but look at us. We can actually have dynamic crowds that's dynamically reacting to everything. It's like, that's great. But is it worth the hundreds of millions that you guys spent on it? That we're paying for.
I expect floppy penis physics, minimum.
Yeah. Well, if it was a wash, in other words, they could implement it at no extra cost. They would be like, yeah, implement whatever the hell you want. But we know that it isn't a wash. We know already that GTA 6 cost upwards of, close to $2 billion to develop. That is insanity.
Those beer bubbles are expensive, bro.
That's why it costs so much money, right? Because they have to physically figure out how to do physics within the game in such a way that it works.
It's impressive. Looks great. Good job.
It is super impressive. The question is just,
is it worth it?
Why? Yes. Should I be expected to pay for this?
Yep.
Right? Is it worth the money that I'm going to be paying on it? And I feel like if we start saying that it's worth the money, I feel like we
disagree. Yep.
Yeah,
it's the same thing with RTX. RTX ain't worth the fucking performance cost or anything. The thing is, RTX supposedly is meant to save money because it does all the light calculations for him. But it's like, bro, do it by hand, bro. The performance costs way too much. Get the fuck out of here.
It's not even just the performance cost. The RTX is meant to save the developer money by taxing the player for it.
Yeah.
Like, that's literally how this works.
Listen, it's a double win for the industry. They get more money in the video game and they get more money for people buying better GPUs or better consoles. It's like, fuck me. Speaking of consoles, by the way, you know what happened yesterday? The Switch 2 launched.
What? Oh, yeah. That is true. Let's actually talk about that quickly.
I don't have anything to say about it.
Are you gonna buy a Switch 2 or not?
I want to. Usually I'd be super excited to pick one up, but the way that Nintendo did things where it's like apparently a lot of the upgraded versions of games, because like my reason for buying a Switch 2 is because I have a physical library of Switch 1 games. So I kind of want to play them with better performance. But it seems like a lot of those is going to be charged for. So it's like, oh, you want to play a better version of Breath of the Wild? $10 or something like that. And it's like, the fuck, bro? This is literally your first party titles. I'm already paying you like 500 bones for this fucking console. The fuck you trying to milk me for more money? Like, fuck you. What is this bullshit? And here's the interesting thing. I can get all that shit for free. That's the other part. I can get it for free. I'm just saying from a consumer perspective, I just feel like we're getting ripped off. Like, because everybody should get it for free. But
no, I agree.
Yeah, but it's like, so I haven't been super excited about it. I mean, Mario Kart World, I'm sure it is Mario Kart World, right? I think that's the name of the game. I'm sure that's a ton of fun, and I want to play it. My kid wants to play it, so playing it with my kid will be a ton of fun, I'm sure. But it's just one of those things that I'm not super excited about it. Like, I'm going to pick it up for sure when Duskbloods come out, because, it's from Software Game. I'm going to want to play that and all of that jazz, but right now I'm bummed out because I wanted to I have this collection of games I want to play it in this console that has better hardware, and I want them to run better. And apparently that's unreasonable.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that I sort of immediately that stood out to me was the fact that there's actual pictures of this where some of the stores in America showcased how Nintendo sent them all of the signage, but then also sent them signs going out of stock. Right. And you sort of go, well, okay. If you already knew that you were going to go out of stock, why not make more just to be sure? Because you already have reports saying that they sort of criminally understocked the Switch 2. So they literally did what Nvidia is famous for doing.
It's available in stores right now in Portugal. I can go pick one up right now.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. This is the one good thing about living in South Africa. Everyone complains of shortages, and we always have everything available.
I remember
because no one has the money to buy it.
I remember when Amiibos came out, and the Marth Amiibo, for whatever reason, instantly went out of stock. And I remember just walking into a store randomly, and I bought one. I was like, "Oh, look, guys, I have it. It's right here. Just can buy it."
I mean, it is part of the nice things, but I mean, this is a legitimate strategy from a lot of companies. Nvidia has done this for years. Underdevelop them, so under manufacture, or sometimes not even under manufacture. You might have a lot already manufactured, but you only release it in a drip fashion because it sometimes allows you to up the price. Because hey, guys, we're constrained right now. We need to charge more because we can't possibly fulfill all of these orders. So I don't know if that's exactly what's happening here, but it might be something to keep an eye out. I, of course, will not be buying a Switch 2 because I have self-respect. And I don't play Nintendo games. So it is what it is.
Self-respect.
At least for me.
Fuck you. This fucking guy.
I have self-respect. I'm not going to play Nintendo games.
Oh, my God. Disgusting.
But okay. Speaking of, or sticking with consoles, Sony State of Play.
Sony State of Play. So it's like, listen, the way that I always look at either it's a State of Play or Summer Game Fest or literally any video game event where new things are going to get announced, the way that I look at it is that I get 3 things out of this event for my personal taste. That I get 3 things. If I did, it's a decent show. If I get more than 3, it's a great show. If I get say more than 5 or 6, it's a fucking fantastic show, right? And when it came to State of Play, I think I got 4 or something like that. So I was like, that's a pretty good show. And then immediately everybody's like, oh, Myth of Play, terrible show. And I'm just like, I don't understand. I don't understand if people expect every single video game to ever show up in one of these shows to be a banger or whatever. Was it
Dude, I'm very interested to hear what games you found exciting, because I'll be honest with you. I'm one of those people. I wouldn't even call it mid. I called it one of the most dog shit shows I've ever seen.
Really? There's not
that was my official review of it.
There's not a single game you're interested in this show.
Mildly interested in 007. Mildly. But I wouldn't even say there. I'm super interested in it. It looks fine, and maybe I'll pick it up. But I mean, there's games like the Pragmata bullshit. It's like, oh, wow. This is like a guy saw Hideo Kojima games, and he thought, man, I think I can be weird too. Let's do something weird. Did not like Pragmata at all.
Pragmata is one of the games that I'm interested in. It's an action adventure game. What the fuck?
Did not land for me. It just didn't.
That's fine.
No, but obviously, I want to be super clear. I think these things are always going to come down to preference.
Yeah, of course.
Like, different people are going to like different things. So, for example, I'm assuming there's a lot of people that looked at Silent Hill F and went, wow. I looked at Silent Hill F and went, no, thanks.
I don't care about horror games that much. Yeah.
I don't play horror games. I don't like being scared. Even watching the trailer had me a little anxious, and I hate that feeling. Yeah. So I will not be playing that shit, right?
So I'll just
yeah.
rattle off all of the games that they announced during the presentation. So the first thing that they did was Lumines, which is like some version of Connect 5 type of game, puzzle game. There's way
terrible.
more. There's way more to it than just that, but you guys get the idea. It's kind of like a Tetris-like puzzle game, and I know that Luminous has a devoted following. It's not really for me. I don't really play these types of puzzle games all that much, unless it's the OG, the Tetris. That is the one that I do indulge in from time to time. But you know, people get Luminous. I think that's fine. Again, now this I found funny because like on their end slate they put Ghost of Yote, and it's like you showed literally nothing of Ghost of Yote. You showed like a picture of the character's face talking to a wolf, and then you're like, "We'll tell you more." And was it July or something? At some point in July, we're going to tell you more. And I was like, "Oh, so it's an announcement of an announcement." Okay, that was pretty.
I
lame.
saw literal articles going Ghost of Yote reveal, and I was like, "Wait."
Yeah,
I watched this. I did not see Ghost of Yote reveal, but
it did not happen. But then there's Pragmata, which I'm personally excited for. I think it's going to be a really fun title. It's going to be a mindfuck title. It'll be interesting to see what they come up with that. We get to see a little bit of gameplay there with some shooting and shit like that. And I was like, that looks
that's
okay.
the Death Stranding you have at home when you want your mom to buy you Death Stranding.
Bro, see, this is the thing. You haven't even played the game. Like, what the fuck?
I'm just telling you what impact it had on me, right? So what it left, the feeling it left with me,
that's fine.
Was just like, okay, this is just the guy trying to be Hideo Kojima.
I don't think that's
I'm not
the point
saying
of
that it's bad or anything. It's probably just not my type of game.
But
right? Which is fine.
Then we have Silent Hill F, which I personally don't care that much for horror. So I don't know
but it
if
does
people
look
like
good,
it or not.
I would just like to point out, it looks good. If I was a horror fan, it actually looks super scary.
Then there's the James Bond, which showed absolutely no gameplay whatsoever. It was just cinematic after cinematic after cinematic, and kind of got me into that Patrick Bateman vibe of going like, okay, now let's see the gameplay. Let's see the gameplay. Let's see what it actually plays like amidst all of these cinematic sequences. But it is IO Interactive, which are the same people that work on Hitman. And as far as I'm aware, everybody that plays Hitman, they love that shit. So might be good. Don't know.
I'm excited for 007 just to, because as you go off, I'm just gonna throw in my 2 cents on it. I'm excited for it, but I would say cautiously excited. I mean, there's immediately some political stuff that stood out that you're like, oh wow, here we go. But maybe it's gonna be good. I'm not sure because this is before he becomes 007. So this is long before he even becomes the super spy, which could actually be a super interesting sort of story, right? To sort of go through and see how he becomes the super spy thing. We'll see. We'll see how they pull it off. I did see them trying to do car chases, and I was immediately like, oh man, here we go. Okay. It didn't look that suspenseful, but okay. I mean, it's James Bond. You're going to have some car chases in it, right?
But then we have Sea Remnants, and this one, I kind of feel like this is, they're trying to do some Sea of Thieves shenanigans, but this game is being, when I read earlier today, this game's being worked on by NetEase. I was like, oh, okay. Okay. I'm definitely not interested now. You've just like completely killed all of the excitement that I could have had.
I will say it's that game, Sea of Remnant, where the stylized graphics immediately made me go, there's something unique about stylized graphics. There's something character building about, it even if it's not your style of graphic, you can still tell the difference.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like anything else,
So then there was another game continuing with our sea theme called Tides of Tomorrow. This one was a little bit weird. Apparently it's going to be some asynchronous multiplayer game where you're going to follow what other players have done and follow in their footsteps.
Yeah, that's crazy actually. I could not understand because it says multiplayer, but then it's like you're following other people, but then who's doing the original shit? Like,
yeah, exactly. It's
why
a
can I not
weird.
do the original crap? Why am I following this
I
other
don't know, but it's
that gets to do the original shit?
It's an interesting concept, but I don't know if they're going to pull the landing on that one. Then there's Sword of the Sea. This is from the guys who made Journey. looked pretty cool, but this is one of those experience games more so where you're kind of just like chilling, vibing, going through the levels,
did not
whatever.
vibe with me.
Okay. There's Digimon, which I know has a devoted following. I'm not into that shit. They announced some Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection thing, which is also going to be some Thief VR, which is a slap in the face to everybody that likes Thief, because people have been waiting for a sequel to Thief. And now it's like, here's a sequel, Monkey Paw Curls. It's VR. It's like, oh no.
Dude, I don't understand. Thief was such a good game. It was so good back in the day. For those of you that don't remember, it was one of the first games that really got into the super sneaky stuff, right? And you could kill the candles to make it even harder to see you. It was such a good game. And just never again. And then you look at the VR version and you go, man, this is bollocks. This is nonsense. Why are you doing this?
I don't know if it'll be nonsense or not, but yeah. We had a
DLC. VR, I'll never play it.
I don't know if it's a DLC or a standalone, but it was Bloodstained, the Scarlet Engagement, I think is the name of it. But yeah, Bloodstained Scarlet Engagement.
What was that about again?
It's like a 2D Metroidvania type of game. You don't know what Bloodstained is?
Oh, yeah. It's the one where the cinematic that it starred as
looks badass.
It's completely misleading because you see it and you go, oh, this could actually be interesting. And then suddenly it's 2D and you're like, what?
I mean,
come on.
Like, listen, this is made by, I think that Bloodstained is made by the guy who created Castlevania, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah. But yeah, so there's Bloodstained, and then there's, they showed some more of Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, which also looks good if you're into that stuff. But then we get to some of my more interesting picks. I already told you Pragmata is one of the ones that I'm interested in. Then the other one is Romeo is a Dead Man. Now,
I couldn't care about that one.
This is interesting because from the moment that I started seeing the first gameplay, I instantly told my chat, this looks like some Suda 51 bullshit, 100%. And then you get to the end and Suda 51 is in there. And I was like, oh, who could have seen this coming? So yeah, Suda 51 does some pretty out there shit that I think is really fun. Like, he's the guy who created No More Heroes, which is a series that is very near and dear to my heart. So yeah, Romeo is a Dead Man is definitely one that I'm personally interested in. Final Fantasy Tactics is getting like a remaster that is actually being worked on by the Final Fantasy 14 team, so Creative Studio 3, which this is something that apparently people have been waiting for a very long time. I never played Final Fantasy Tactics. This might be the time that I jump in. I would actually, I don't know if this one's going to be exclusive. I think that Square Enix is left that, I'm hoping that the train has left that station, because I think that this would be the perfect title to play on the Switch too. But I don't know if it's going to be in there or not. I haven't really checked up on it. But yeah, that's another one that I'm somewhat interested in checking out. So we have Pragmata, Romeo's Dead Man, Final Fantasy Tactics. And then one of the biggest reveals of the show for my audience, Neo 3. They announced Neo 3. So that's another really good title. And on top of announcing it, they made a demo, which, by the way, is fucking massive. Because I was just like, yesterday I started playing, and I'm gonna do like a 3-hour stream, probably do everything there is to do in the demo. Oh no, not even close to doing everything there was to do in the demo. Like, that's a long demo. It's should be at least like 5 hours if you do everything once without even exploring too much. I feel like so. Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Neo 3 gets a beefy demo, and it's only available for like 2 weeks, I think. 2 weeks from now, they're taking that demo down. Because it is an alpha. It is, the thing about Neo 3 is that this is very much, if you've played Neo 1 and Neo 2, feels pretty much the same. This is a company that is almost like stuck in time when it comes to the way that their video games feel.
Well, if it works, it works, right?
Yeah, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just I kind of wish the animations were a little bit more fluid, but I understand why they're doing it like this. They're like, no, look, our audience likes this. This is what we want to do. And I'm like, cool. Let's do that.
I would say that's probably one of the smarter moves, specifically because you can so often get games where from the first to the second game, they sort of overcook. And then suddenly the game isn't anything that made the first game special. I'm looking at Dragon Age, of course, here.
Yeah.
And you're sort of going, wait, you guys are overcooking this. You just stick with what you know. It's fine. It's not perfect, but it's better than whatever the hell it becomes. So I actually have respect for that.
The thing is, they are making this one into an open world. So it will be interesting to see how the reception to that is going to be.
Everyone's going open world.
Everybody's going open world. Yeah, they have, because I've played the demo already, they have the traditional camps that you have in open world games where you go in there, kill everybody, take over the camp, the usual shenanigans.
Of course, you have to have that, right?
Yeah. So, yeah,
is it on PC or just PlayStation?
Right now, just PlayStation. Usually the way that Neo works is like comes out on PlayStation, gets like a couple of years of exclusivity, and then I don't know if Neo 2 is already on PC or not. It might be. I think it might be. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, usually it eventually releases on PC when it comes to Neo games. I will say that running on the base PS5, it's rough. That performance looking mighty rough. On several occasions, big old dips. So yeah, I'm hoping.
I want to point this out because I think it's important to point out. We've been speaking on this channel quite a bit about consoles and the saving costs, or the cost savings involved with consoles. I feel like in a lot of cases, that may have been true in the past, but it is becoming less and less true nowadays. Because you think about this game
nowadays, GPU prices, it's not.
Well, yeah, obviously, but even with the GPU prices, because I mean, AMD GPUs do exist, and they're actually pretty good for the bucks that you pay for it. But if you go just on this, right? So the PlayStation launches, base PlayStation, almost everyone buys it because they want the new PlayStation, and it's much more powerful than the last gen. But then a couple of months later, they launched the Pro version.
Years later, but yes. Years later, but yes. Not a couple of months, it was a couple of years.
Yeah, 1 or 2 years, right? Then the Pro comes around. Now, the Pro is so much more powerful than the base version.
It's not.
Of the game.
Unfortunately, it's not. That's even the worst part.
According to many, what PlayStation Pro can do is a hell of a lot better than what PlayStation Base can do. At least that's what I've seen. What I've seen is people say it can either be something with the
version this time. Yeah,
RTS DLSS stuff, right? It could be DLSS stuff because we know there's a lot of screwing around with DLSS. But
it would be FSR because it's AMD GPU. But yes,
yeah. Well, DLSS, FSR, same fake frames everywhere, right?
Yes.
So ultimately, the point I'm making is you are still paying a lot of money in order to, because once the new games come out, they're made now for the Pro version. And suddenly the base version can no longer really play those games because those games require too many resources. And so now you're forced to go and upgrade to the Pro. And if Sony or any of these other companies is to stick with the trend of being greedy above all else, I would not be surprised if you get the base PlayStation, then eventually you get the Pro one, and then maybe eventually you get the Ultra Pro or some other bullshit, right? Name that they want to invent, which now just allows them to basically sell you a PlayStation in a single generation for almost $2,000. And at that point, go build a PC. Because it's going to last you way longer than whatever the console generation is going to be.
Will it?
Right?
I no longer know if it will.
I think so. Because if I think about my PC, right? So I have a 3080 in here. At the time, everything that I bought was the highest value that I could buy, right? It was the highest quality that I could buy. And I will say, I probably still have between 5 and 6 years on this PC before I will be forced to switch. Just because of the optimization that you can do on a PC, right? The fact that you can turn graphics up and down and you can do a lot more, and PCs are just more powerful in general. But you can't really say for console. I mean, there's Cyberpunk is a good example of how once the 5 came out, the 4 was not going to play that game. Plus, I saw some... I'm sort of going straight off the rails here. Someone leaked Cyberpunk on the Switch 2.
What do you mean
And it's
leaked?
apparently-
The Switch 2 is out, and so is Cyberpunk. Wait, Cyberpunk 2 or Cyberpunk 2077?
No, Cyberpunk 2077.
Okay.
The reason I call it leaked is I don't think they wanted people to see that. It's like playing slideshow.
That's not on the.
At least from the video that was
running
shared.
okay on the Switch 2, and it was running bad on the Switch 1, or whatever it was.
From the video that I've seen, and this person that leaked or that showed the video on X isn't really someone that ever sort of lies a lot, but or makes stuff up. But the video I saw, and I just quickly scanned it. So to be clear, it wasn't like I went balls to the wall into it. But just quickly scanning through it, I was like, whoa, this is really bad. It looks terrible. And more importantly, it plays like ass. It looks like it's genuinely running at like 20, 25 frames per second, maybe, if that.
Oof.
So I don't know if this might just have been someone that said it's the Switch 2, but it's actually the Switch 1. But I can tell you that if that is the Switch 2, it's unplayable. Maybe someone in chat has a Switch 2 and they can tell us what does Cyberpunk 2077 play as on the Switch 2. I'd love to hear it. But anyway, sorry, I was interrupting you.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about Neo. Neo, I think, will be fun, and you can play the demo right now on PlayStation. And then the final thing that they showed was a Marvel fighting game called Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls, which is basically a bunch of Marvel characters, and it's developed by Arxis, which are the same people that do Guilty Gear, Dragon Ball Fighters, and a bunch of other really successful fighting games. So it actually looks really interesting because they are changing the way that a lot of these Marvel characters look, their costumes, and all of that stuff. And it looked like it was going to be pretty fun if you're into the fighting games. But yeah, I usually don't tend to play too many fighting games, so it's whatever. But yeah, so that's why I said I think it was a good show. I don't think it was a bad show. I don't think it was a straight super banger or anything like that, but it was a good show. I got, like I said, I got 3 games that I'm interested in: Pragmata, Neo 3, Romeo's a Dead Man, and also I'm curious about Final Fantasy Tactics, which would make it like 4. It's good. Yeah. And that's the way that I always look at it. Can I get 3 games out of it? Sounds good to me.
I mean, sure. I saw one game that I'm mildly like, okay, well, maybe I'll give it a go. But yeah, I mean, it could just be that this really isn't my type of games, which is fine, right? PlayStation is allowed to release the games that they feel like will do the best. And yeah, if I don't like it, I don't have to play it. That's pretty much how it is. Talking of not liking it and not playing it, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This is now 3 weeks in a row that we're talking about Clair Obscur Expedition 33, but this time I feel like I'll just read you what Clair Obscur themselves, Sandful Interactive, had to say, and then you can guess what you think is actually happening.
I know what happened. I saw the tweet. Somebody was accusing them of like sexual misconduct or some bullshit or racist hiring practices or whatever the fuck.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is literally what's happening now, right? So the left is targeting Sandfall Interactive, saying that they're a racist company, they're a racist studio because they don't hire any black people, claiming that Sandfall themselves denied to admit that they had Asian people working on the game, even though it's literally in the credits. And they never denied it. Sandfall was never the company that said we're only 30 people. It was the media and people that was running with this only 30 people. Sandfall never came out with an official number, except for the fact that they have 30 people that work at the studio, right? Like their studio is only 30 people. But anyway, effectively, the game is being attacked because it's not inclusive or diverse enough, according to these people. There's only French culture, and there's apparently not enough black culture or gangster culture. I don't know whatever these wokies want in their video games. And effectively, Sandfall just came out and said, we've noticed discussions online concerning us and our values, so we want to make this absolutely clear. Expedition 33 was created with respect and tolerance by teams and partners from diverse backgrounds, cultures, and perspectives. Our game was crafted with love. Please don't weaponize it to spread hate. The thing that I hate about this is Sandful Interactive is doing the same thing that every other bloody publisher in this space does. In order to appease the extreme left gaming media, they're throwing the gamers under the bus. And by this, I mean gamers, all capitals.
How are they throwing gamers under the bus? They're just saying, don't weaponize our game.
Yeah, because we're the ones fighting back against these lefties claiming that the game is super diverse, super racist, and super bigoted and all the rest of it. And Sandfall is going, guys, look, we're all for tolerance and stuff, so please don't use our game to weaponize hate. And it's like, hold on, we're not weaponizing hate.
Why are you putting yourself...
We're fighting back against people who are trying to blame you for this nonsense. Now, it could be, right, that I'm
I think you're reading,
and I'm reading into it more.
You're reading way too much into it. My interpretation was we had the tweet where they were saying that they're, that their hiring practice and whatnot, and they just came out and they said, hey, we didn't do this. This is none of our business. Like, don't fucking use us for whatever you're trying to pull, and that's it. Like, that seems to be what the response was. Like, there's a tweet and there's a response to that tweet, and that's it. It's not bringing gamers into the mix at all.
The issue with that, right, is first and foremost, I'm not the only one who walked away with that exact interpretation that this is what they've done. It's also not the first time that game studios have done this, where the game studio gets attacked by the woke media, the anti-woke gamers stand up for the studio, and the studio decides to throw the anti-woke gamers under the bus because they're trying to appease the woke media. I don't agree
that that's what they're doing.
So it's not the first time that this has happened. Fundamentally, right, I don't think this tweet, if the point was to take on the people who are claiming that they're a racist studio and that, their story is racist and all the rest of it, there's a couple of things that don't read quite well in this tweet, but then again, we can debate and argue as much as we want about it. The fact remains that Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is being attacked by the woke left because the game isn't diverse enough. Now, what bothers me about this whole thing is time and time again, the media and the wokies will tell us that it's all natural. Game companies are just diverse now, so diverse stories is just diverse. But then, why are these hate campaigns existing? If it's so natural, right, and it's just what it naturally does, why is there this targeted hate campaign against the studio that happened to make a French game? Because most of the developers happen to be French. Because either it is organic or it isn't organic, right? And this is the thing that I think pisses me off most about the entire situation is whenever the anti-woke, right, calls out games and makes an issue about what game companies are doing, a lot of people are very quick to attack the anti-woke, right? And be like, how dare you? This is just how diversity works. Why is the same people not calling out the people currently attacking Sandful Interactive? Right? Where's the same bullshit? Like, where's the same pushback from all these people that don't want people to make games negative? Because that's genuinely, even in our own comment section, a lot of the viewers will go, oh, you're just being overly negative. Let's just let developers do what they do. Why aren't you saying this to the extreme woke that want every single game to be as gay and diverse as humanly possible? Well, aren't they the ones just making things negative right now and not allowing developers to make what they want to make? I'm just sort of asking, because it seems like there's a lot of double standards. And
I just don't see how this is even related to what we're talking about with the Expedition 33 thing. That's the thing. Like you're pulling on this thread and you keep going and going and going, and I'm just like, I don't blame you for not seeing where it is. I see a bunch of idiots that went online and started saying that, like, oh, this studio is racist, and then I see the studio just going like, hey, we have nothing to do with this. Like, we're not fighting this fight, whatever the fuck. Well, and that was it. That was the interaction that I saw.
We'll see, right? We'll see what happens. I have seen this before. Like I said, it's entirely possible that I'm just jaded as F right now.
Yeah, you are.
And I've seen enough from the games industry to know where this goes. But we'll see, right? We'll see how it plays out. I will say, though, on a bit of a positive note, I don't know if you saw this, but this is really going to, I think, grind a lot of people the wrong way. Finally, we're going to see Ryan Gosling as Black Panther. It's actually happening. Black Panther is confirmed to be white. And as you can imagine, from
that is so dumb.
all the wokies, they were super happy with the race swapping that happened in Black Panther.
I'm sure
I find
they
it
were.
Funny. I find it funny, bro.
It's
I'm not a fan of race swaps. I think race swaps are disgusting and it shouldn't happen. Make stories for yourself. This is one of the things I respected about Black Panther. I didn't think Black Panther was a great movie. I think a lot of people pretended like it was a great movie because it was at the height of all the racist bullshit happening in America, right? Or anti-racist shit, depending on how you see it. So great. It's all good. I personally thought it was a very mid movie. But at least it was a movie that was made specifically for that purpose and was created entirely on its own. The race swapping of characters to me seems completely illegitimate and lazy. But now that it's happening to the other side and watching them have an absolute aneurysm as a result of it, I'm going, oh, this is juicy. This is so beautiful. I love this. Let's do more of this.
Oh my God. I think so. I was thinking about this because I ran to that news yesterday, I think. And I was just thinking, like, here is one of the issues with this is the fact that I am not knowledgeable enough in the comic book world, because I remember at one point there was the whole thing about the female Thor, and I thought to myself, is that actually a thing? And I think I looked it up in the comments, and I think that actually is a thing. There are some comics where there is like a female Thor. So my question now becomes, are there any comics where there is a white Black Panther? Is that actually a thing? Because I don't know. I don't follow comics that closely.
This is the first comic where this white guy is now there. And what makes people even angry...
This isn't a comic. This is a movie. Hair and blue.
No. This is, from what I understand, this is a comic.
Oh.
It's the first edition of the comic. That's why people are so angry, because it now establishes it as lore.
Establishes right? So a white Black Panther canonically. Oh.
With blonde hair and blue eyes. We should just mention that. And I only mentioned that. I only mentioned that because the physical story is he kills his own father. He kills T'Challa. And that's how he becomes the Black Panther. Right?
It's like, listen, the first thought that came to mind was like, I don't think Black Panther should be white any more than I think the Little Mermaid should be black.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That's it.
I think
to be honest, I don't give two shits about what happens in Marvel movies or whatever the fuck. I'm just like, I'm so signed off of that stuff.
Yeah. But you see, this is where it becomes such a cool thing, because if we look at 007, and this was so juicy, because I had this exact conversation yesterday on stream, because we were talking about the Black Panther stuff, right? And someone in chat just earlier were sort of telling me that I'm completely wrong for caring about the fact that M and Moneypenny have been race swapped. Right? M is turned
in First Light on the James Bond.
In First Light, right? Yeah. M is turned into a Indian woman, and Moneypenny is turned into a black woman, right? And I said, look, I don't care if they wanted to do this, but you cannot tell me that this wasn't a political decision. At some point, they were sitting there going, right, guys, what are we going to do here? And someone said, well, I think we should have more black and Indian characters. So let's take these two traditionally white characters and make them black and Indian. So it's definitely a decision that had a background in it. And this guy was like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. It's just about making things more diverse. And that's all it is. And then came the Black Panther story. And this guy was like, this is disgusting racism. And I was like, oh, wait, what? Wait, excuse me, sir. All that, did we not just establish that race swapping characters is no problem? Suddenly now it is a problem? I think, Houston, we have a problem. And the guy just left. He was just like, screw you. So I just want to say, if this bothers you, if it bothers you that there is a white Black Panther now, I'm going to need you all to apologize for the last decade of you telling us, stop being racist bigots. Because if this bothers you, then that should have bothered you.
I actually, you know what I think? I think they might actually just be doing it to capitalize on all that controversy because it gets clicks. That might actually be the exact reason why they might actually just be grifting.
But
they might actually just be grifting. Bro.
I just want to point out the white lefties are struggling.
See, this is
why I don't
know
what to do with this.
This is why I don't get involved in any of this bullshit. I never have to struggle with any of this. I don't care.
But,
fuck all this.
But listen to how
these
juicy
people
this
are making fucking millions out of
even,
you, and you're just like arguing over it.
Even
like,
you who aren't that political, you'll laugh at this. The white lefties don't know where to go, bro, because they desperately want to attack. But the author is black. The guy who made the comic, made this decision, is a black guy. So the white lefties have no idea what to do. Like, it is so confusing because if
that is a very interesting situation.
It is so beautiful, bro. I am eating so well. But anyway, still, it is funny. It's out there. We'll see how this plays out. I personally think race swapping is so lazy and stupid. And it's not that you can't do it. It's that if you are going to do it, at least in the case of Black Panther, this guy is doing a completely new story, right? So he's literally taking it a completely new direction. Because it effectively boils down to T'Challa, after his wife died, T'Challa hooked up with a woman called Lynn. Now, I don't know the Black Panther universe that well, but Lynn is European. And this new Black Panther is actually her son. But because T'Challa went back to, what's the place again called? They're
Wakanda?
Sort of Wakanda. Because he went back to Wakanda, the boy grew up without his father. So he actually started hating his father. And that's why when he got to Wakanda, he killed his father after his mother died. And now he's the new Black Panther, right? So it is its own story. It's not just a lazy race swap where they're just going, well, we're going to do the exact same story, just a new race of characters. If you're going to do it that way, I actually think, okay, fine, let's see how it goes. Right? So if you are going to race swap characters, at least make it interesting. Make it make sense. But hey, in this case, I'm just glad they're melting down. It's always beautiful to see. Then we have as our, I want to say final topic for the day, because we do have another topic, but maybe we'll just, I don't know, because the other topic is a bit more of a unrelated topic to gaming specifically, although there is something to do with gaming probably there as well. We'll just quickly go through it maybe. Path of Exile versus Path of Exile 2. So Path of Exile 1, for those of you that don't know, just got massive news that a brand new expansion is coming for Path of Exile 1.
Yeah, new league.
With that being, yeah. But with that being said, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it adds. And I don't care at all about any of it.
So it's like, I think it's important that Path of Exile 1 finally gets a big expansion. And the reason why this is so important is because since the beginning of development of Path of Exile 2, Grinding Gear Games actually made the promise that it wasn't going to affect the development of Path of Exile 1, and they were still going to be receiving leagues, because Path of Exile 2 is a very different game from Path of Exile 1. And this is something where the community has kind of been at odds with one another, because the people who like the slower, more methodical combat of Path of Exile 2, they don't want it to become faster like Path of Exile 1. And then the people who like Path of Exile 1 want to go zoom, zoom, zoom in Path of Exile 2. And then there's like, I'm not like super in depth on the Path of Exile community yet. I do want to play more and more Path of Exile 2. It's just, there's a lot of games coming out. It's kind of hard to keep up with everything.
quite busy.
And so it's like that is something that I've always noticed since I started playing Path of Exile 2. There's always friction in the community where people are going up against each other with like, should be faster, should be slower, should be faster, should be slower. And one of the things that ended up happening was they had to delay updates to Path of Exile 1 multiple times because of the development of Path of Exile 2. And people got really mad about that. People were just like, what the fuck? You said my game wasn't going to be affected. Fuck this shit. Fuck this game. I hate you. And apparently now they're like, hey, here's big old content dump that's like more content than some games even put out. And this is just like one league. So people are happy about that, I think. That is my understanding of it, at least. But
it is gamers. We're not ever happy with anything. We're gamers. We complain about everything.
Like,
there's no happiness.
I'm happy that Path of Exile 1 is getting content, but the one that I'm interested in is Path of Exile 2 because I like the more slower combo-based.
This is exactly it. The people that's happy now that Path of Exile 1 is getting content are unhappy because it's not getting enough content. You already know that's going to happen, right?
Really?
Then the Path of Exile 2... No. I'm not saying that's confirmed. I'm just making the point how gamers operate. Then you know for a fact that about a week after the new league goes live, Path of Exile 2 players will start complaining that, why do the Path of Exile 1 players get all the love and we get fuck all? Right? I think that's going to be a whole thing for a while, right? I think some Monster Hunter community is going to start complaining because they're not getting the same stuff as the Path of Exile people. Even if it's not the same studio, it doesn't even matter. Everyone just likes complaining. As gamers, it's sort of the hobby that we have when we take a break from our gaming.
Complaining.
So we game for a little bit, then we need a break. We go complain for a little bit about whatever game it is we're playing, and then we get back to playing the game that we just complained about. It works kind of in its own way, you know?
Oh, man.
But I did kind of know because I spoke to some Path of Exile players yesterday about this.
Okay.
From their perspective, the reason they're super happy about it is Path of Exile 2 is unfinished. And as a result of this, a lot of what they value in Path of Exile is currently not possible in Path of Exile 2. So Path of Exile, for example, according to some, there's so many abilities, but there's only really 2 builds per class that's viable. Most of the builds are completely broken because there's not enough items in the end game to support a lot of the builds that you might want to play with, where Path of Exile 1 truly is the sort of thing where whatever abilities you want to go with, you'll be able to make it work, and you'll eventually get to a place where you can blow bosses up and one-shot them with that weak-ass build, if that's what you want to try and do. Which they're hoping will eventually happen in Path of Exile 2, but because 2 can't do that yet because it's early access, 1 is their only avenue for that, and to see 1 just be neglected for so long was really frustrating for a lot of these players. So I sort of understand it from that perspective, I guess. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not. We'll see.
Yeah. And then our last story for the day comes from really, it's a weird source, but it is Brandon Sanderson. Now, Brandon Sanderson is an author, for those of you that don't know, quite a famous fantasy author. A lot of people love him, although there has been criticisms of his most recent books going way more woke than what a lot of people sort of care to see. I even did an excerpt from one of his books to showcase how bad modern day writing is in fantasy universes. You know, you have a game that's taking, or a book that's taking place in a medieval universe, and then you suddenly have this 21st century conversation that breaks out. And in the excerpt, you can even see how hard Brandon struggles to write this scene, because you're trying to make a scene that wouldn't have taken place in that period fit in that period, and it just comes across as incredibly bad. But anyways, he had quite an interesting reveal over on Reddit about something that might finally explain why things like Rings of Power is so incredibly bad, why we keep getting these shows that make no sense. Like, for example, Star Wars Acolyte, where you look at what they have to work with, you look at what they come up with, and you go, wait, what the hell is going on? So I'll just read this, and you can sort of hear for yourself. I have a fun story here. Early in my career, someone optioned the rights to make one of my stories, The Emperor's Soul, into a film. I was ecstatic, as it's not a story that at the time had gotten a lot of attention from Hollywood. I met with the writer, who had a good pedigree and who seemed extremely excited about the project. Turned out he'd been the one to persuade the production company to go for the option. All seemed really promising. A year or so later, I read his script, and it was one of the most bizarre experiences of my life. The character names were largely the same, though nothing that happened to them was remotely similar to the story. Emperor's Soul is a small-scale character drama that takes place largely in one room, with discussions of the nature of art between two characters who approach the idea differently. The screenplay detailed an expansive fantasy epic with a new love interest for the main character, a pirate captain. They globetrotted, they fought monsters, they explored a world largely unrelated to mine, save for a few words here and there. It was then that I realized what was going on. Hollywood doesn't buy spec scripts, original ideas, from screenwriters very often, and they never buy spec scripts that are epic fantasy. Those are too big, too expensive, and too daunting. They are the sorts of stories where the producers and executives need the proof of an established book series to justify the production. So this writer never had a chance to tell his own epic fantasy story, though he wanted to. Instead, he found a popular-ish story that nobody had snatched up and used it as a means to tell the story he'd always wanted to tell, because he'd never otherwise have a chance of getting it made. He goes on to sort of explain, but this kind of makes a lot of things make sense.
It's fucking wild that happened. There are definitely, I think, situations that you can kind of like extrapolate from that. And it makes a lot of sense, particularly when you're talking about video game adaptations, because you see the story of the video game adaptation in the big screen and you're like, the fuck, this has nothing to do with anything? Like, what do you mean? This doesn't respect the original game at all? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's so weird. Yeah, this happens often, and it is weird. But yeah, that's such a strange thing that they would just like pick up a book with a completely unrelated story and then just make up a story with the same character names. We're like, hey, look, it's your story. It's like, what the fuck? I did nothing with this. What do you mean?
Yeah, I didn't write this. What is this? But it also makes sense from Hollywood's perspective, right? And you can kind of understand why a lot of writers end up doing this. You see, if you're a writer and you go to a studio and you're like, this is an epic fantasy show, the first thing the producers are going to ask you is, or ask themselves is, okay, this is going to cost us hundreds of millions. We have no idea if this is going to sell.
Yep.
Right? But if you go and you go, well, Tolkien's book, I'm going to make an actual show here. Who's not going to watch Tolkien's work, right?
Of course.
Obviously, that's going to sell.
And then you change the whole story.
Yeah, I'm not interested in Tolkien's story, right? I'm interested in my own political story or my own, not necessarily political story. I think that's even unfair.
Example of this, like it was just coming up to my head. The best example, Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars is a brilliant example
like
of someone.
George Lucas had the outline of what the sequels should have been, and Disney grabbed it and they go like, "Yeah, fuck all that. Actually, no. Here's what the sequels are. It's going to be a story about all of this stuff, and then we're going to do this amazing revolutionary technique, which is like a what do you call it? The races where you hand off the baton. I forget the name.
Oh yeah, marathon. No, not marathon. Relay race.
Yeah, it's going to be like this relay script racing. You guys are going to love it. And it's like you're going to do what? You're going to do relay script racing on one of the best sci-fi stories ever written. You motherfuckers! What the fuck do you mean? And yeah, they bought that shit, and they absolutely perverted it with whatever fucked up interpretation they had of what the story should have been.
But
it's disgusting.
You see, I think that's the whole point, right? It's you have these specifically currently, right? So what happens with Mistborn here or with Brandon Sanderson is an example of maybe like a really good writer that thinks that their story is really good, but they know that it won't be picked up. But I think in the modern era, what we see a lot is political activists genuinely wanting to do political activism, and they do the same thing. So they apply the same rule set to it, where they know that they can't create this political piece that they genuinely want. Because when they do, it sort of turns into Dustborn, right? Where no one really plays it. But if I can take the Dragon Age story and I can make that my political vehicle, hopefully that picks up speed. And it just ends up distorting and destroying the whole thing. You have Star Wars as a brilliant example of, I wish I could say that it was just politics that destroyed Star Wars, but let's be real.
Lack of talent destroyed Star Wars.
Yeah, some was politics, some was just terrible decisions that you just go, wow, you would have been better off doing something political because this is bullshit. Right? So it's sort of like just ineptitude that led to a lot of the failures of Star Wars. But then Rings of Power is a great example of, again, sort of a political worldview trying to bastardize one of the greatest stories ever told, right? And it just turns into something that no one wants to watch. Witcher 3 is probably Witcher is one of the best examples I can think of an author that went, I have my story. I want to tell an epic story of absolute goal bosses. But there's no real stories of epic goal bosses. I know what I'll do. I'll take Witcher, because that's what everyone loves, and I'll just ignore the Witcher. I'll make him like a side character in his own series.
So wait, you're talking about Witcher 4? I'm not sure if I'm going to agree with that.
I'm talking about Witcher, the TV show.
Oh, okay, yeah, the TV show. Yeah, that went the writer went on the second season real fast.
Yes, because the writer went, I want to tell a story of an epic goal boss, but I have this male character to contend with. So I'll just make him a side character, and I'll just make the goal bosses the goal bosses. No, Witcher 4's decision making will be determined when the game is out. Yeah. I can't speak yet because I've not tried it yet. Right now, all I have is fears, but those fears are unfounded until it's proven or disproven, dependent upon. But that's it, really. That's the story. That's the end of the show. It was, well, pretty much the same length as all of our other shows. I thought it was shorter for some reason, but it wasn't shorter. So, Is what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining myself and Rurikon. As always, every single week you guys are here. Please remember to hit the like button if you enjoy it. The dislike button if you didn't. Leave a comment because it does help out an absolute ton. And remember, for $5 a month, you get early access to all of our podcasts. So please consider subscribing and helping us, make the podcast even better. So as always, Rurikon, thank you so much for joining me.
And by the way, I just want to tell you, dear viewer, you're looking real good today. Okay.
There you go.
You're looking real good today.
Rurikon is feeling sentimental. So, ladies and gentlemen, as always, be good to each other, be kind to each other, and we will see all of you in the next one. Peace.